2 by 2, 35 Indy cars ready to rumble in Fontana with Team Talent 1, 2, and 3. We are Green Flag Racing in round 3 of the ISOWC, and already single file at the front of your field is jockeying for track position. Further back, cars work in towards turn number 1. Already I see some 3-wide action further back in the pack. Look at this rearward shot as Dirty Albert seems to be finding that out for himself right now, Lewis.
Yeah, looking pretty tricky for that mid-pack. Excellently coordinated, though, at the front between Ike, Kraus, and Alander.
Play machine as soon as we can, Lewis. Oh, yellow flag is out. It's Dean Woods and Cy Andra. Of course, Andra was already several laps down, and I have a feeling it's going to be Woods just washing up. Oh, there's contact with the race clutch car in front. I wonder if there was more contact with the SimSA Esports car that now has that front right wheel dangling all over the road. Confused if maybe my timing screen is telling lies to me right now, Lewis, because it says that Ike and Alander out front have not come down onto pit. I can't think of any reason why you'd stay out other than you expect more cautions to fly very, very quickly here. He's down onto the safety of pit lane. Ike and Alander 1 and 2 with Phil Kraus in 3rd. Christian Steele 4th, and Henry Bennett the top 5. We are Green Flag Racing once more, and across the start-finish line, already 2 wide, further back in your pack. You will notice that is Carl Jansen, who is in 3rd. Oh, the sideways moment, and we're going to have another caution, surely. That's Xavi Ross into 33. Contact with the 290 of Peter Zuba.
Wow, he's on board with Xavi Ross. Let's take a look.
That just looks like way too much weight jacker in the car, and he did a good job to hang on to it for a second, but I think clipped around there by Peter Zuba also opens up the fuel strategy. No one came down onto pit lane, so for Ike and Alander out front, what will they do as Green Flag back out, already side by side on the edge of the top 10, on board with Pierre Verne as we fly our way down into turn number 1. Oh, yellow flag back out.
Now that is perfect timing for Valtteri Alander and Andre Ike. That is absolutely spot on, exactly what they wanted. Xavi Ross once again involved.
It's going to be interesting, Lewis, how the race plays out here, because we've got 110 laps to go. It is just within I should say, beyond the fuel window, so you don't have to do a full stop for at least one of your pit stops. But if you're Kraus, Espity, or Chin, you're looking at this race slightly differently. Races. Yeah. It is now Team Talent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Of course, Mangan being part of that technical affiliation. Green Flag back out as we are underway once more from the virtual Auto Club Speedway. Kraus, Espity, and Chin with a rocket of a start there. Valverde sleeping on that restart, Lewis. Remember what they're able to do. Alander is 3 wide on the back straightaway right now, and on the inside losing positions. Out front though, Austin Espity leads his first lap of the season as we see this scramble in the middle of the pack. Steele is 3 wide as well. Oh, there's almost contact up into the outside wall. They just about make it work. This is once more some fantastic racing in this 2021 season.
Valtteri Alander, by the way, speaking of that kind of stuff, probably quite hot in Finland, but not really caring one bit right now, has got all the way back up into 2nd position and is now going to go for the race lead. We ride on board with Valtteri Alander, now to the inside of Andre Ike, and takes the race lead once again. That did not take him long to go from 6th to 1st, and if I am the rest of the field, that's terrifying.
And so much drama that weekend. Oh, caution's back out. More drama here today.
Last time, where there was only 10-20 minutes, 10-20 laps rather, between them. There's Riley Thompson, so just losing the rear end out of 4 is actually really easy to do, especially if you've been pushing the rear end of the car.
By Ike, Bennett, Kinsella, and company. What does Joshua Chin do? He comes down onto pit road. Everyone is down this time around, Lewis. We are back on the same strategies throughout the field. Set Henry Bennett gets us back to the green flag action in round 3 of the ISOWC 2021 season. Valtteri Alander, the championship leader, sits in 2nd with just 2 previous open wheel oval races to his name.
It's pit sequence to get back involved. It's why you might see them taking a risk. Valtteri Alander into the pit lane. That was a call that was very, very late, as he has been the first to blink.
At the line, it will be 15 laps and 30 miles to go. 5 cars with a chance of victory. Alander, Chin, Steele, Ike, and Espity. 3 of them are Team Talent drivers, and 1 more of them is driving the Team Talent setup. What a day it's been for them. And
it is impressive. I mean, like I say, I was expecting more of those to be up. Obviously, we saw Phil Kraus being up, and obviously that instant really ending that idea. And
oh, three wide. Sorry, Lewis. Ike around the outside. Is he going to get a move done on the 77? We were wondering what Ike could do, and I think he's just found some purchase. There is some lap traffic in front that will play a factor as well. But now, pulled along by his teammate out front, it's a Team Talent 1-2 as Alander tries to fend off the charge from the 76.
Oh, Ike maybe a little bit high. You've got to be careful with doing it around the outside of 4. So he's up into second position. Also, Christian Steele. Seb was waiting, was patiently understands, going for the race lead at 1 and 2. Christian Steele's going to try and take third position off Valtteri Alander, who's holding it and going high through 1 and 2. They're so close. Here we go. Valtteri Alander is going to look to the inside. We're going to go 3 wide into the final corner. Going on to the penultimate lap. Alander hits the front.
The championship leader back to the front here. Steele is going to have to concede for now. He's going to try the over-under. It's 2/10 between first and second as Steele once more tries to get on past Chin. There's almost contact. They're 3 wide. White flag in the air. It's Steele to the front of the field. Alander trying to hold on to the inside line. The previous race winner in the ISOWC dating back to 2015 is in the lead of the race. Snaking back and forth down this back straightaway. It's Chin on the outside. Alander moves up into him. There's contact between the two of them. Chin's up into the wall. Out of turn 4. It's a drag race to the line. Is it Steele or is it Alander? There's contact between the two of them. It's going to be Andreas Ike, the pole position sitter, that wins. And it's Valtteri Alander flipping himself end over end. He'll have to settle for 4th. What a finish we had there, Lewis. Race control. We'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
And I've officially lost my voice, so I got a bit hoarse there, and you can see the contact there. Steele is frustrated. He didn't even get across the finish line. He will drop to 15th position. Race control has already said they are reviewing the end of that race, but 1, 2, and 3, it is Team Talent that celebrates here from Fontana as Andreas Ike burns the house down with some very well-earned donuts. Yeah. Here are the unofficial race results. We should make that clear because who knows if Valtteri Alander will hold on to that 4th place finish. But at the end of the day, it's Team Talent 1, 2, and 3. For Andreas Ike, he will be thrilled. Pole position to victory, not as easy as that sounds after 150 laps of racing. Joshua Chin, he'll be delighted with that 2nd place finish. Not a field filler, that is for sure. green flag racing in round 3 of the ISOWC. And we're going to have another caution, surely. Everyone is down this time around, Lewis. We are back on the same strategy. 5 cars with a chance of victory.
Here we go, Valtteri Alander's going to look to the inside. We're going to go 3 wide.
Chins up into the wall, or it's a drag race to the line, or is it... Three races down, 3 to go in the 2021 season of the ISOWC. The Flying Finn, Valtteri Alander, has controlled the championship so far, but as we get set to rumble here on the streets of Long Beach, can anyone stop him for 85 laps as we will crown our king of the streets? Hello and welcome back to RaceSpotTV and coverage of the summer of IndyCar action. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be joined by the one and only Lewis McClay. TV cameras designed by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxon with live timing powered by our partners at ATVO. You can follow along with RaceSpot.tv/Indy and your favorite team and drivers. Lewis, what a fun ride it's been so far. Two road courses, and 1 oval. But now we head to the streets of Long Beach, the second race in a row back-to-back in the Golden State. This should be thrilling with a very entertaining field.
A wildly different challenge than what we've seen over the previous rounds. A street circuit has its own challenges and its own burdens to bear. It's a brilliant track, though, and one that appeals to some, not to all, but I certainly love the flow of the circuit here at Long Beach. It's one that will be very, very testing. It's about patience, it's about resilience, about keeping the car out of the wall.
And the walls are going to be oh so tough to avoid. Such a historic track, 2 miles in length. This Grand Prix has run from 1975, started as a Formula 5000 event before Formula 1 came in 1976. Since the 80s, though, CART arrived in 1984 and has been a fixture on American open-wheel schedules since then. Alexander Rossi taking the last couple of victories here in 2018 and 2019. Let's take a look at this point structure, Lewis. It's an interesting one because drivers from 25th on back, they do still get championship points. It's always great to be able to accumulate those points even if you don't necessarily get the result you feel you deserve, and bonus points, always a fun proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives that sort of counter to make sure that people are reaching the end of the race, reaching the checkered flag. Although, to be fair, I don't think there'll be too many today that will be taking points from below 25th. It is going to be a hard race around here. Very much a long one. It's about keeping it, like I said, keeping it out of the wall, keeping it clean, keeping it fresh, which, to be fair, I think we're going to see a couple of cautions throughout the race. I think we're going to see plenty of drama. And for the likes of Valtteri Alander, who's been so strong in the season, remember that dramatic finish just a week ago. Well, I think we might be seeing some stuff like that.
Some great shots of this track and the cars making their way around for practice. Still 10 minutes to go, so lots of time for us to talk about some storylines and talk about this track as well. Valtteri Alander, that is the championship lead. He was side by side with Christian Steele coming to the line at the virtual Auto Club Speedway, but contact between the two of them dropped them both out of the top 10. Oscar Mang and Phil Kraus tied in second, 50 points adrift, but you look through second and sixth positions, Lewis, only 5 points separating them, and even further down, Andreas Eich and Jose Soria tied on 57 points apiece. There is lots of intrigue here because championship prizes are on offer.
And, of course, realistically, we're halfway through the season, so there's still plenty to play for. Everything that's been made, everything that's been set is definitely not set in stone. And so there's plenty of time to work it out, whether you were maybe struggling at Watkins Glen to open the season, caught up in some of that early drama. Well, you can make a name for yourself from here on out. Circuits like this, circuits like Road America and Indianapolis, they're wildly different to what we've had before. And so from that point of view, depending on how you've been on strategy, you can make things work, especially here at Long Beach tonight. This is a real wild card race.
And it was one that, Lewis, you highlighted right at the start of the season. What are your expectations here for 85 laps? Because with the championship being so tight, you really need, especially if you're someone like Yao Vaz, who didn't enjoy the best of runs from Fontana just a week ago. He needs good points today. He needs to get to the end.
I'm expecting carnage, if I'm honest. I want people to be clean, I want people to be racy, but I am expecting that drama, that carnage that we'd associate with a street circuit, much like we have here in Long Beach. But it's not just that. It's about making the most of the carnage. It's about picking your way through on strategy. If a caution comes out, if something like that, making sure that you're coming into the pit lane at the right time. It's why, yes, it's a street circuit. Overtaking is difficult. But starting on pole position isn't a golden ticket. It doesn't guarantee you a victory. It's all about how you work your way up the order, your consistent, methodical driving, and also, like I say, using strategy to your advantage.
Well, in talking about being able to work your way through the grid, I was doing some reading last night. John Watson won for McLaren in 1983, started back in 22nd position out of 26. His teammate, Niki Lauda, started right behind him, finished in second. Interesting factoid as well, René Arnoux in the Ferrari finished third, the only driver to finish on the F1 podium here on the streets of Long Beach in a turbo-powered car. Let's take a look at the championship prizes and what these drivers are fighting for on the road to $7,000. Valtteri Alander no longer able to get that perfect season that would net him over $2,200. Instead, he'll be looking at trying to maximize his winnings from here. We talked about the battle from 2nd through 6th. You can see there's a $500 swing depending on where you finish. But of course, Lewis, the greatest, the coolest thing about our championship, if you ask me, the winner of this championship, and it is looking like George Simmons has to start looking at that livery on the 77 and how it translates to a custom 1/18th diecast of the championship winning car.
Yeah, it really is a brilliant prize. We speak about this every week, but what a fantastic trophy it is to have really made in your honour for winning a season that is this competitive. It has been in the hands of Valtteri Alander, but you know, these things can unfold very, very differently as the final 3 races of the season go on, especially with that final round at Indianapolis. That is going to be a very, very tricky one indeed. That said, it almost does seem like it is one hand on the trophy at present from Valtteri Alander, but there is plenty more to play for, not only when it comes to other people trying to get involved with the championship, keep your eye out for Oscar Mangan on that one, but also just, you know, the prize money, all that kind of stuff. There's plenty up for grabs, and also the honour of winning a race at this level. That's got to give you a bit of a push.
Well, more factoids, Lewis, because I really did enjoy reading about the history of this wonderful circuit last night. Drivers, there are multiple drivers that have won their very first career IndyCar race here on the streets of Long Beach. That includes the likes of Michael Andretti, Juan Pablo Montoya, Mike Conway, Takuma Sato, and, well, some people's favorite NBC commentator, Paul Tracy. Michael Andretti, in particular, won his first career race in 1986, as well as his 42nd and final race back in 2002, almost 20 years ago. Someone I know a lot of our drivers are a fan of, James Hinchcliffe, the Canadian, won his very first Indy Lights race at Long Beach in 2010, following up with a win in 2017. It's a track, Lewis, where you expect the unexpected. Valtteri Alander starts in first, Oscar Mangan in third. Adam Blocker, though, for the first time, Powerslide Motorsports really making the most of qualifying. He'll be starting on the outside of the front row. Watch out for him.
Yeah, it's not normally a circuit, and this is the same thing with street circuit racing in general. It's not normally something which you would associate with first-time winners, with rookies, with people that are, you know, new to rolling around at the front. But it's just, there's something about it. It applies that almost every time you come here, someone new is running towards the front. It is a brilliant venue for it. It is one that is a proper driver's track. I mean, that run through the first complex, then into the fountain section is interesting in its own right. It's so easy to overdo it down into turn 1 and go into that tie barrier. How many times have we seen that, not only in the real world, but in sim racing as well, since this laser scan version of Long Beach hit iRacing? It's a tricky corner. I think we're going to see a couple of that tonight. But not only there as well, on the run down towards turn 9 at the end of the backstretch, it's tricky there as well with the tyre barrier just sort of poking out at the end.
Let's take a look then at our track guide. Valtteri Alander very graciously sending us over this lap of Long Beach. A 106 was the lap here, a 105 6.38 netted him pole position just about 30 minutes ago. That's that very tricky turn 6 complex. Now you come, though, towards two of the most important corners on the track, Lewis. First, this left-hand sweeper, then the right-hand 90-degree that leads you onto East Seaside Way.
Yeah, it's a frustrating corner because you always are constantly saying to yourself through T8 onto Seaside Way that I'm turning too late. I'm turning too late. I'm turning too late. I'm turning too early. I'm turning too. You never hit it right, and then you've got to carry that speed all the way down into the Firestone turn, round this section here into the hairpin. Now, let's be real here. That drive off of there onto Shoreline Drive, which we are presently on, is going to be critical. But also expect our 2 and 3 wide through there, through the race. Someone's going to be diving it, and when I say 3 wide, you think that's not possible. Trust me, they do try it. Someone will dive it that far.
You can't go too wide, though, through here. This is the fountain as we jump on board with Olander and the 77. You can see just how close to the walls he's going, trying to maximize the track on offer. And I tell you what, you don't necessarily want to brush yourself up against those walls, especially coming out of turn 6. You'll find yourself spun around with some damage as well. Braking at the 200-meter board down in towards turn 6. Look how wide Olander runs, but look at this. This is where you really see just how aggressive these cars are, cutting all the way to the inside and still running all the way to the outside of the track limits as well. Down East Seaside Way, another passing opportunity potentially as you brake hard at the 300-meter board. Olander climbs over the inside curb. But this last sector, it's all about just rolling your momentum. Look how carefully and gingerly Olander approaches this hairpin, gets himself turned in nicely, gets the power down, and across the line here, Lewis, for a lap at Long Beach.
Yeah, every time we see a lap, and I'm sure you have the same thing of watching a lap, you think, oh, how does he get that close to the wall? I don't understand. I don't get how he... And then you drive it, and you kind of get that, not that close probably, but you get pretty tasty with the wall. You get close, and this is the same thing with a lot of drivers. If when you're watching someone do it and you're watching them get close to the wall, you think that it's not possible to do that lap after lap. But when you're in the rhythm, when you're part of it, when you respect the track itself, I'm not going to say it's easy, but when you're in the rhythm, it just flows so nicely.
Still 30 seconds to go before we roll ourselves into the race. Lewis, it's Mystic Lewis time. Let's get some predictions from you here. We were talking before we came on air. It's going to be awfully difficult for anyone to challenge Valtteri Olander. He was 3/10 clear in qualifying.
How can you bet against Olander? How can you bet against Valtteri Olander right now? 2 wins to open the season, was ultra competitive last round out when we hit the oval, and we weren't expecting him to do it. We weren't expecting him to compete at the front. If I'm being a betting man, I wouldn't look past Valtteri Olander, but then part of me, the heart of it, I want to see someone else up there. Janssen, after that fantastic drive at Sebring, I reckon today's the day.
He has said that his goal is to get in front of the Finnish driver and challenge him, but it's time to turn up the most famous song in all of esports. Let's go trackside here on the streets of Long Beach to take a look at our starting grid for round 4 of the ISOWC. And so on the pole position, it is the Flying Finn, a 105.638, 3/10 clear of the rest of the field. Watch out for your championship leader to dominate here today. Adam Blocker outside of the front row, the real-world IndyCar engineer, bringing his experience to the sim world here on iRacing. Oscar Mangan second in the championship, third on the track with Pedro Sanchez-Albert, who was very quick in our season opener, completing row number 2. Gustas Grimbergus, he's won on a Monday night here on the streets of Long Beach, live on RaceSpotTV. What can he do inside of Carl E. Janssen? So impressive. Last time we were on the road courses. Peter Zuber inside of the King of Chins for the private label Team Hype Machine, with Yao Vaz and Graham Saunders completing the top 10. Austin Espety had a strong race last time out, getting his championship back on track. He'll be inside of Balish Remenik on row number 6. Riley Thompson, Adam Crane, with Christian Steele 15th, Slyandra in 16th. Ramez Azam in 17th, alongside the Canadian Brian Carey. He was our biggest mover in round 1. What can he do from 18th on the grid? Andreas Ike, a winner last time out, 19th though on the grid, inside of Henry Bennett on the edge of the top 20, with Matt Pavelski back in action today alongside Pierre Verne the Frenchman for the Race Clutch team. Chris Owen, great to see him for the first time qualifying in this race. He'll be inside of Severi Seppa for the Indy Alliance and 3 Crowns Racing program. Alex Ellis, Alexander Walton, Brendan Lichtenberg, and Manuel Domingo will bring up our 28-car field. Slightly smaller, Lewis, but I don't think any of us are necessarily complaining about a bit less carnage here on the streets.
No, I'd want a few less cars. You don't want 30 cars running around here. You want to reduce it. I mean, I'd even say, and this is not a bad thing, I'd even say 28 is too many, because if I'm sat there towards the back of the grid, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be carnage running through on the first lap, and it's where it's pretty dicey. It's where it's pretty frantic, and like I say, around here you kind of want maybe between 20 and 24 as being your very limit, but 28 regardless, a wonderful grid to see. We're at least a car down from qualifying, but regardless, we won't go into that too far. Another fantastic qualifying session from Valtteri Alander. What can't he do?
Well, we're about to find out what will happen here today, because we will get an extra pacing lap, and it'll be interesting to see if some drivers decide to start on the black mark tires. Of course, everyone in the top 10 has to start on the reds. That's the compound that they qualified on, but it looks as though from 11th on back, excluding Adam Crane and Christian Steele, everyone on the black mark primary tire. And let's be honest, Lewis, there's a very good reason for that. Drivers want to get their one stint that they have to do with the black mark tire done as soon as possible.
Yeah, you've got to run a green flag lap on each tyre. Now, what you're hoping is this goes green for 3, 4, 5 laps, something like that, so you can get off these tyres and get on with it. You don't want to stay on the black wall tyres for too long. They are much slower, much harder. But if there is one man that knows how to make the black tyres work, it's Valtteri Alander. Watch him back at Sebring. How he won there was about balance and about consistency on those tyres. So he'll be running them a bit later and fancying his chances there. Fantastic driver on it. We saw it at Watkins Glen either as well. We were expecting, maybe he can get a podium. He's got good pace for it. But boy, oh boy, has he taken this championship by the scruff of the neck.
And not just by the scruff of his neck. He's really been a standout especially last time, Lewis. Let's quickly just recap Auto Club. I mean, dramatic end to the race, and I know Christian Steele is heartbroken at losing that race victory, but really, Valtteri Alander, in only his third open-wheel oval start in his entire career, was a revelation. And I wonder what he'll be looking like when we get to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the ISOWC 500.
Yeah, it's kind of, if there's a driver that I've been impressed with. I know he's leading the championship, whatever, but Valtteri Alander, the way that he's built himself up with this championship is the way that he's made his own form book, which has been so impressive, and it looks like he's going to try and continue it around here. But this is a circuit that can throw up many a different thing. It is a tough circuit. I'll say this, I'll throw a little bit out for me. The last win I ever had on iRacing, which wasn't that long ago, don't worry, was around here. It's a good track. It's fun. It's got a flow, but again, it's about avoiding the carnage. Which that run into turn 1 the first time, 28 cars. I reckon we could see some drama. We could see some carnage, and that's just what they need to avoid. They've been so good the last couple of races.
I think we're getting at least one more lap under pacing
so
here, which is not the worst thing in the world, especially when so many of the drivers are starting on the black tires. Let's talk about the track conditions very quickly and what the drivers are going to be dealing with today. It is decently cloudy, as you can see as the shot as the cars come across what is the start-finish line. 26 degrees Celsius in the air, 45 on the track. That is not that warm, but what I'm looking at, Lewis, is 24 km/h gusts of wind. That is going to be something drivers have to deal with.
Yeah, that's kind of what the expectation would be in this kind of area. You know, we're right next to the port of Long Beach. It's just over, in fact, actually from where we're facing, where the drivers are heading now, if you were to kind of keep going, not quite in a straight line, but off to the left slightly, you'd cross the LA River and into the port of Long Beach. And so we're very much on that sort of coastal side. And so the expectation is that it would always be fairly windy. There's not much to break up the wind coming in from the ocean, and that's kind of the nature of things around here. You're blocked by the walls and stuff. You're a little bit protected, but it's not going to help so much. It is windy out there, and it is going to affect the balance of the car, especially considering, you know, naturally with a seaside kind of place, your wind's going to be changing fairly frequently, and that you need to be aware of just in the back of your mind, not necessarily about making changes through the stint, but just keeping your eye on how the car's changing balance throughout that stint.
And something different that you'll notice when we get around the hairpin this time around, the leader is not allowed to go when the pace car pulls down. We have a start zone, which is at the actual start-finish line, means that we'll go 2 by 2 throughout our 28-car field, building up 14 rows of Indy cars to throw themselves down into turn number 1, Lewis. A little bit concerned, but for those who watched our round 2 at Sebring, they will know that 2 by 2, that was the story of the start for the mid-pack.
Yeah, it's a smart move though, because the thing is you don't want to have it in the same sense as like as soon as the pace car's in, go. Because what you have then is you've got carnage in the background as people are trying to muscle their way through into the hairpin and try and work their way for some track position before even the race has begun. It's going to be tough into turn 1, but Sebring was clean on the start. Yes, we had drama at Watkins Glen, but let's channel some of that Sebring action and see if we can go green all the way in the hardest conditions we could possibly ask for in the ISOWC.
85 laps on the agenda. That is the real world distance as well. Long Beach will hold a Grand Prix in 2021 and it will have fans in attendance. What a wonderful prospect. Let's preview the action here though in round 4 of the ISOWC. They form themselves up 2 by 2. They ignore the green flag. The field is in control of your championship leader, Valtteri Alander. We hit the start zone. We go green flag racing for round 4 of this ISOWC season. Already a rocket of a jump from the leader, but look at this, almost 3 wide. Gustas Grimbergers looking to the inside line. He has to fall back into line and now in towards this fountain section. It's 3 wide further back. It's single file down through the fountain. Joshua Chin defending from Peter Zuba as we come in through turn number 4, Lewis. I think we've gotten through this first lap safely.
Yeah, actually, just in the background, I wonder if we're about to get a caution. There was an enormous hit on the back of Matt Pavelski. He received a large knock from Chris Allen, who misjudged it down into turn 1. So there has already been drama, and the caution is already out. It was clean at the front. It was clean as a whistle. It was dicey stuff, but clearly other things have happened and transpired over that first lap.
Oh, you can see that was Peter Zuber in the 290, and there's Adam Crane. It appears not just damage to his front wing, but potentially that right front pointed in the wrong direction. So like Lewis says, we do have the caution out on lap number 1. We will get our pace car driver, Benny, back out there onto the track. Somewhat expected here on the streets of Long Beach. Let's go ahead and if we can try and pick up what happened on the race start. So you can see this is back in the pack. There is Adam Crane, the VRS Satellite Racing driver, 3 wide with Balajlag Remenik. Oh, in the background there you see Pavelski and Aeon getting together, and for Adam Crane just off into the wall. Let's take one more look at that and check out the carnage further back in the pack, Lewis.
Yeah, there's more as well as they're slowing down going into the hairpin. The concertina effect as expected. So this is a little bit further back, and we can kind of see this one unfold. It was just a little bit messy, a complete misjudgment on that sort of turn into the first section as we were expecting. But there were 2 different crashes. So you got this one here. There it is. That's Chris Allen going way over the top and into the rear of Matt Pavelski. Then you've got the crash that happens ahead. But then there's also further stuff that happens going into the fountain section. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of front wing end plates that were lost as well in there. So
this is Peter Zuba inside of Graham Saunders as they just make it work 2 by 2. What happens to Zuba? Oh, there's contact with Saunders, and the Yas Heat car scampers out of the way. Austin Espity slides it on through as well. And I think that's why we have the yellow flag out and the safety car back out onto track, Lewis. The question I now have, will the drivers who started on the black mark tyres decide to come down onto pit road and get the primaries off and the alternate red mark tyre on their car?
Will that count as the primary stint?
That is an even better question.
I don't think it does.
The rule book would have to be considered. I don't actually remember off the top of my head, Lewis, if it's technically requiring a green flag lap or if it is just a lap in the race. But we'll complete lap number 2 here, and I have a feeling the strategists are flicking through the rule book and trying to decide what they can do here.
Yeah, it's about making sure that you don't make a decision which is actually going to, you're going to assume it will be fine. but then it affects you a little bit later down the road. I am pretty sure about it's stated in the rule book. I'm not sure exactly where. I'm sure I can try and find it, but it's about a green flag lap, and it is a complete green flag lap. Now, lap 1 of this race was not a complete green flag lap. It went caution halfway round. So by my money, it won't count, although we do have a couple of drivers jumping into pit lane.
So it's an interesting call, that is for sure. Not just 1, but 4. You see Lichtenberg and Domingo making their way down onto the lane. I hope that they know the rulebook a bit better than us up here in the commentary booth, because they may be staring at potentially a post-race penalty when all things are said and done. I must say, for Andreas Aiku, one last time around, he elected to start on pit road in today's action, and he's already cycled his way back up to 18th position now, Lewis.
Yeah, doing quite well. Obviously, that's the joy of carnage at the early stage like that. You just kind of, if you avoid it, it's basically free positions. It's free money. You know, you run your way through and keep yourself calm. That's what it's all about. This is why with street circuit racing, I'm always surprised that rookies and stuff tend to go well around here, because those decisions, that is surely decisions of experience, of working your way through a carnage-filled fest down into turn 1, you know, rush hour traffic. You need experience, but it's not. It's almost as if experience goes against you sometimes around a circuit like this.
Maybe just the fear and having so much experience of maybe getting into the walls. It's a confidence track, and it's one where we haven't talked about car setup too much. It's one where if I'm the driver, Lewis, I want a setup that's relatively safe so I can extract the maximum from the car. You don't want something that's trying to kill you all the time, because that gets the fear into you. That makes you go slower. It is not what you need here today.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the rule on the tyres. On road courses, drivers must use both compounds of tyres for at least 1 complete lap in the race. Doesn't actually technically say green flag lap. That is 4.7.13 if you're so inclined. But yeah, it doesn't actually say specifically it has to be a green flag lap. It just says 1 complete lap in the race. Now, if I'm being that kind of driver and I'm trying to make a move that might move me up the order and might win me the race, those are the calls that you're going to make. You're going to try and clean it up and find a way through. Well,
as the person who wrote that rulebook, I can say that probably means those drivers are good. Pace car is already off. We are back to the green flag action. Single file. This should be a slightly easier restart for us to get through. But of course, no time to waste for Olander. He hit the throttle as soon as he exited the hairpin. Single file. It's Olander, Blocker, Mangan, Albert, and Grimberg as the top 5. Carly Jansen, Josh Chin, Graham Saunders, Yao Vaz, and Austin Espety, the top 10 positions. I hear some contact further back. These drivers are all the way up into the walls, but look at the gap that Olander's already built here. 0.8 of a second down into turn 6.
Yeah, this is a hard race for race control to be on it. You can see, so going through turn 6 now, by the way, Mamo Domingo and Chris Allen, who are right at the back of the pack, they are already 3-4 corners behind, because it's the nature of the hairpin and stuff. You're not quite tight going into it. You're building up speed coming out of it. And obviously how early Valtteri Olander went there, the concertina effect spreads out the grid so far, and it does kind of mean that you've normally, if you're in the mid-pack, you've got actually a bit of breathing room running through. So looks good so far, and we've got our green flag lap completed regardless.
Olander 1.3 seconds clear. Brendan Lichtenberg seems to be around on the timing screen. Is there damage to the 10? No, and he's gone deep into turn 8. Excuse me, that's not turn 8, that's turn 9, so maybe just out-braking himself. I would assume with the lack of damage, no sort of assistance there as he runs wide at the hairpin. Further back, look at the pressure that the Irishman Oscar Mangan is putting on to the 74 of Adam Blocker as we jump on board with the Core Sim Racing driver.
Yeah, for Oscar Mangan, this is not about a race. This is not about trying to win here on the streets of Long Beach. It's about a championship, which he is not that far behind. Has done well from consistency and etc. Has been there for all 3 races. Not at the front, but around the area. Like, this is a very, very good drive for Oscar Mangan this round in comparison to the rest of the season. But still, now with that whiff of a potential championship, it's not necessarily out of reach yet. there is the potential, and I'm not going to rule it out, but does need to get by your man Adam Blocker ASAP.
No bias up here. I'm not a power slide driver by any speed, at least for the next hour or two. By the way, Alex Ellis, who had a disqualification from qualifying for ignoring race control, has begun this race as a man on a mission. He's 11 spots up. He's just gotten past his teammate Syandra. You can see the VRS Satellite Racing duo running in 14th and 15th for now. These are valuable championship points as drivers start to use their push to passes here. I see Brian Carey, Alexander Walton. Walton has had a very impressive season in terms of charging through the field. Qualifying has not necessarily been Simsa Esports' strongest point. Oh, there's more carnage. Ooh. This is Chris Aon once more, and I think Adam Crane is involved again.
Yeah, that is not pretty. There is a wheel missing on Adam Crane's car, so that is not good. The front left as well, so going to drop it probably in the fountain as well. Let's have a look at Chris Aon again, though. Adam Crane is behind. Oh, I get the feeling this might be quite a big one. So we're running through turn 1 now into the fountain section, bouncing off the wall. Spoke about the risk of that happening prior to the broadcast. That running wide at turn 1, patience from behind to allow things to unfold naturally. Oh, that's rough for Adam Crane. Nowhere to go.
And I guess for a second time today, Crane involved in an incident, no fault of his own. Carl Janssen, Mangan's teammate, has gotten past Gustas Grimberg's. Yellow flag is back out surely because of the incident between Chris Aon and Adam Crane. So second time today, we slow things down and reset. And for Valtteri Alander, he was 2.4 seconds clear at one point in time. He'll be feeling quite frustrated with the stop and start race.
But this is exactly what you have to expect when you're racing around here like this. It's going to be like this. If you're coming into it expecting it to be a green flag run from start to finish, then you've got more hope than me. I'll tell you that. The expectation is that it would be pretty tight and stuff. This is Janssen getting by. That's a fantastic move. Gotta say, down at T9, that is absolutely sensational. I'm
very glad we had the time to go and take a look at this once more with this aerial coverage brought to us by ATVO. Grimbergus defending to the inside, but I think Janssen on the button says, hello, I'm here under the brakes. I'm going to go around the outside and force it into the inside, and it's very difficult to run too wide through this hairpin. I think Grimbergus doing the smart thing there and conceding, dropping back into line and looking in his rearview mirrors for Joshua Chin to come across as well. But back to the live coverage. And I wonder if we'll start to see pit stops once again. And indeed, Christian Steele finds himself down on the lane now, Lewis.
Yeah, I would. We're at that point. I know we've not done very many laps of racing, but we might see some drivers entering pit lane. Pretty brave to come in this early and trying to get away from everyone else. But I do like the call to at least risk something. Must be said with that move. Just going to give a shout out, of course. Janssen, great move, really brave attempt. But again, I always say that a move takes two people, and Gustas Grimbergus did a very good job to just give acceptable racing room. The amount of times I've seen a move around there, or especially around the outside of a street circuit, and the person on the inside just basically drives them out into the wall. It's not worth it at this point in the race. Let's just see some good racing, and that is exactly what we saw there.
I mean, someone that we're familiar with, Lewis, Moritz Lohner, who got a start in the DTM Trophy in the GT4 in the real world just a couple of weeks ago. Voted as driver of the day. What a wonderful debut, finishing second for him in a BMW M4 GT4. The one thing that I noted on Twitter that he said is the real world is a little bit more dirty than sim racing. Drivers are much more willing to run you off the track, and sometimes you really see that, especially here in the iRacing IndyCar community. We have so many great races that people can go watch the RaceSpotTV archives on a Monday night. These guys always love to give each other just enough room. Sometimes they'll force each other off into the grass, but they are very reluctant to wreck one another.
Well, this is the thing, is that if you make contact around here, you're going to pop. Especially, so in that scenario, if Gustas Grimbergus was pushing Janssen into the wall, he's going to pop his rear left suspension off. There is no doubt about it. And is it worth doing that like this? Moritz Lohner, by the way, did very well. Like I said, driver of the day, finished on the podium in the first race. was third in that, as we do have Gustus Grimbergus coming into the pit lane and a few others behind. Brilliant stuff. But yeah, I've heard, you know, I've heard plenty of stories from race drivers and whatever of, oh, I was rubbing him in that way, trying to break his suspension, because, and I'm like, whoa, are you kidding? But they race it that hard because, you know, they're racing drivers. They're trying to win. They're trying to do whatever they can, whether it's in prototypes or in touring cars or open wheelers or whatever. They're pushing it to its limit, and you know, whether you like it or not, that is how it is. I'm more of a driver and a person that wants to see two people go through a corner side by side with just total respect and bravery, more so than anything else. And I do get the vibe. There are certain series in sim racing where you see that an awful lot more than you do in the real life. So, you know, hats off to moves like that, and let's see more of it. You can pass around Long Beach. Who'd have thought it?
And so, Grimbergus onto the primary tire. Looks like the rest of the field is switched on to the red. So, interestingly, let's throw up the timing tower as we are under caution. And on the left side, you will see the tire compounds. Of course, the top 8 have not come down onto pit road, and so they are on the tires that they started. Reminick, Ellis, and Andra also not down onto pit road. They are extending this stint, and I wonder, Lewis, if this is just them expecting more cautions. Of course, a famous term, cautions breed cautions. Maybe they're just thinking about this carnage, trying to find some track position and working themselves up the grid.
Well, yeah, they're all about extending fuel mileage at the moment. I mean, Alex Ellis is more about extending his run in the series. I mean, look at that, up 15 spots here at Long Beach, and I know a lot of that is through carnage, is through pit lane, etc. I don't care. To see that by your name, plus 15 in only 10 laps, regardless of the reason, is a confidence booster, especially doing that, ticking off the harder compound tyre. Now, what that means for the rest of the evening for Alex Ellis, I don't know. But you'll see them pushing out as far as they can just to try and extend that fuel mileage, to come into the pit lane one less time. Track position around here is king. It is hard to pass around here. I know we've seen a few, but it is still very, very difficult to pass. And so if you could stay ahead, that is gold.
So here we go for the second time. Caution comes to an end. We are back to the green flag action, and Adam Blocker was right on the tail there, trying to follow a lander down in towards turn number 1. But it's Joshua Chin that is the closest to the car in front. Look at him applying the pressure to Janssen, who looks to the inside to defend from them. Single file they have to go for now, because of course this fountain section, everyone I think wants a green flag run at this point in time, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, to be fair, some on the Blackwall tyres might want it to push a little bit more to the caution side, but we certainly want to see some green flag racing and see this race unfold a bit more naturally, although I do think Valtteri Alander is the person that wants that more so than anyone else, especially with his pace and dominance in the ISOWC thus far. We, just as a bit of a reminder and a bit of a thing to say right now, as they run onto East Seaside Way, that there is a time limit on this race. Yes, it is 85 laps, but it can't go longer than 2 hours and 30 minutes. And that is an important note, that if we were to get close to that time limit, that could really affect strategy.
Let's not think about that prospect. Unfortunately, my timing screen, Lewis, is indicating only about 80 minutes to go from here. So I do think if we can get some of these green flag laps under our belt, we'll start to see things just getting stretched out, things changing very slightly. Look at Ramez Azam on the button and trying to get on past Syandra side by side in towards turn number 1. Does the VRS satellite driver want to fight this one back? No, he doesn't. Azam up a position. He's 6 on the day already. Almost 30 positions gained last time from Fontana. His teammate Alexander Walton is back in the pack, as well as there's a swap around between Andreas Like, our race winner last time around, and Christian Steele, who finds himself on the primary black mark tires. Out front, it's Alex Ellis getting past Balajlag Reminick. What a charge so far from Alex Ellis with real-world experience in Indy Lights. But look at that gap, and look at side-by-side between Janssen and Pedro Sanchez Albert.
Yeah, so making that position stick. I was going to say there was a little bit of side-by-side. It was close between Oscar Mangan and Adam Blocker, but did not make that one move. Really nice move again from Janssen, and now up into 4th position. Now on the back of his teammate, will be able to assist both on the button between Adam Blocker and Oscar Mangan. I was going to say about the move a little bit earlier between Ramez Azam, who it wasn't just the button, it was about the drive off the corner. It was about the difference in compound. These two, yes, sure, they're using the button, but they are both on the same compound of tyre, both on the Red Bull Faster alternate tyres, as Gustas Grimbergers makes up a position on Kerry.
Great move there, and on the black tyre as well. He's got so much confidence. I mentioned his victory a couple of Mondays, I say a couple of Mondays, it was a couple of months ago on a Monday night when the ISOWC was actually announced. Drove to victory in one of his first IndyCar starts, so he is confident coming into this race weekend, and let's see what he can do. Balazs Remenik has dived down onto pit road the last time around, so he shod the black mark tyres that he was using and has made his way back onto the red mark alternate tyres. A rather long pit stop does indicate to me, with 25 seconds stationary, Lewis, some sort of damage to his Yas Heat 32.
Yeah, potentially repairing front wing, etc. You know, there's plenty they can do, but a bit of a shame from Balazs Remenik. Kind of explains a little bit how he was fairly easily passed by Alex Ellis, but is what it is. It's kind of one of those things. It's a bit of a shame. Gustas Grimberger is going to try and make a move on Syandra here once again off the corner, using push to pass, using a lot of it. Got to go around the outside of turn 1. I don't think that one's going to stick, but he is going to commit to it. Oh, this is going to be super brave. The wall is out there to greet him heading into the fountain section. It's still going to be Syandra, but that was a good attempt.
That's the confidence of knowing how fast you are around here compared to someone like Syandra out of turn 5. Brian Carey on the red tires. I wonder what he's thinking with so much aggression in front of him and such a long way to go in this race. But having said that, Lewis, I've just taken a look at the lap counter. We're already on lap 13 here.
Yeah, we are ticking them off. I know we've had a bit of caution, but these laps will fly past.
What a move around the outside. He wiggles, holds on to that car, and gets on past Pedro Sanchez Albert. Wonderful action as in front of him, the core sim racing cars are pressuring Adam Blocker.
I am not so sure he got completely away with that, did Josh Chin. We'd have to take another look at it, as here we go. Oscar Mangan being defended by Adam Blocker. He's got to do it around the outside of turn 1. Should be able to make this one stick, using it all the way up to the pit exit, and does go around the outside. Wasn't hard fought by Adam Blocker, so smart stuff, but Oscar Mangan up to 2nd place.
And I think now, with Valtteri Alander 4.4 seconds clear, he's lapped Balazs Remenik as well. He is just looking unstoppable and unbeatable in this 2021 season. Pedro Sanchez Albert is sliding down the field. Graham Saunders has gotten past as well. Great to see him back in action here in the 100 car for Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing. What an interesting start. And, well, we thought turn 1 might be the primary passing opportunity, but down East Seaside Way into turn 9, Lewis, clearly you can make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're brave enough, any corner's an overtaking opportunity around here, but you do have to be brave. Seen some great stuff. I did check with Josh Chin. There was a little bit of contact. It is a tiny brush. I don't think it's going to fight him too hard. But after one core racing car's gone by, I think the other one is about to do so. Janssen making yet another move. This time it's certainly not fought by Adam Blocker. And we've got 2 core cars, 2nd and 3rd.
And it's, well, the IndyCar newcomers running 1, 2, and 3. You've got Blocker in 4th, a 4-time Lionheart IndyCar champion. Joshua Chin, a 2018 Indy 500 winner, in 5th. Graham Saunders also relatively new, so great to see so many new faces making their way into this Dallara IR18, one of the premier cars now on the iRacing service. New tire model, new damage model, really has produced some fascinating stuff as the core cars set to work, chasing down Valtteri Alander in front. Of course, Lewis, let's not forget, Core Sim Racing, Kova Esports, Team Talent, they are all working together in a technical affiliation, but it doesn't matter when you are as quick as the Flying Finn is.
The technical alliance works before the race. It works as a bit of a partnership to build yourselves into the race. Once you are in it, though, you are basically by yourself. You might be helping your team. Carl Janssen is potentially going to go for a move on his teammate, but doesn't quite go for it yet. Obviously, if you go for it, you've got to make it sure that it's clean, as João Vaz gets by Pedro Sanchez Albert down into turn 1. So there's a nice move from the very experienced Vaz, the Yas Heat driver, who we've spoken about a few times this season. Did not have a good round last time out. But yeah, that technical alliance, once you're in the race, is basically out of the window. You don't want to hit him off, of course, but you're racing for yourself, you're racing for your team, you're racing for your own brand and identity. And so in that sense, they don't care who's ahead of them. They just want to catch them, whether it's Valtteri Alander or whoever else. That needs to be caught.
Left side once more. Let's take a look at these tire compounds. I think beyond Gustas Grimbergers, 13th on back, have already done the one stint that we expect the cars to do on these black mark tires. Interesting to see how that works out. There's a bit of a trolley train forming behind Sayandra. Look at Austin Espety trying to look past Gustas Grimbergers, who is having none of that right now.
Yeah, looking like it was going to be a decent attempt, but potentially looking for the inside of the hairpin. That's a bold dive. There could be contact off of it. Should be the best drive realistically from Gustas Grimbergers, but watch them press the button. They should be able to try and make a move from Austin Espety down into turn 1.
Well, I think Espety actually got a pretty good run. Now sucks himself up into the draft. The 111 all the way to the inside as once more side by side. Espety unable to affect things there, and well, they are getting racy. And well, now that the carnage and the chaos is somewhat settled, Lewis, 28 cars have whittled themselves down to just 25 still running. Hopefully we'll get 25 finishers to the green checkered flag as well.
Yeah, and the real sort of story in that sense would be, of course, you know, the rise up the order from Alex Ellis and that kind of stuff, but it would be that two of the drivers that were battling it out for victory last time out, including the one that won last time out, Andre Eicher, as well, with Christian Steele, you know, battling it out, and realistically, you know, you could argue potentially should have won the race, are the last drivers still going around. That is a terrible, shameful. I know, you know, pit stops, etc. I get it, but still, that is not a great way to continue here at Long Beach. Shows how different ovals are to road course racing, and how you have to, on a season like this, balance yourself out across all of it. Gustas Grimbergers, even though he's on the Blackwall tyres, is using the button to potentially defend and go on a bit of the attack from Sayandra.
Grimberg, as I said, this is some of the most fun he's had in sim racing. Sends it deep under the brakes. Andra sees it coming, and Grimbergus gets the position. For a moment, I think Espety thought he might be able to follow into the fountain section, but Andra will hold the 12th, and now look in his rear view mirrors for Espety to try and sling on past. I must say, for someone like Grimbergus, who's got commitments in the real world, the youngest ever winner of an ACO sanctioned event at the age of just 16 years old when he won in the LMP2 category with Rick Ware Racing, it must be fun for him to take on this new challenge, Lewis, try out this Dallara IR18 in a year where he's also going to be going and testing a Euro NASCAR car.
Yeah, plenty of real-world experience and stuff, but sometimes you want to keep your racing skill a little bit sharp, and there's a sense that you get from actually racing, from going wheel to wheel with someone, which, no, it's not an exact replication in sim racing. As look at this from João Vaz. There goes Sanders, and that was so much speed coming out of the hairpin onto Shoreline Drive. That was a just intense drive. Quite clearly, the Yas Heat working good in the traction department. But yeah, for Grimbergus.
Sorry, Lewis. Big wiggle there for Sanders, and I must say, wonderful car control to hold on to it.
Yeah, that was a bit scary, especially in that where you don't have much room before the wall comes to shake your hand and break your suspension. But yeah, with Grimbergs, we're seeing this from a lot of racing drivers. They're doing sim racing less so for the fun. That, you know, it's fun, it's this, it's that. But it's also because you keep your racing skills and your racing sense sharp. You're understanding how a race is progressing and how to affect moves on drivers. No, it is not exactly the same as it is in real life. I'm not trying to say that. But there are skills that you can take from one and apply to the other. And that goes both ways.
And to try and give a sense of the scale of domination that Valtteri Alander enjoys, don't look necessarily at the 7-second advantage that he enjoys. Instead, you have to look at the fastest lap time, a 106.712. The only driver in the 106s, he is about 3/10 clear of Carl Janssen, who is the only driver in the 107.0s. You look back to Joshua Chin, a 107.385. the margins are truly astonishing around this just under 2 mile circuit, where the lap record, Lewis, is a 107.551.
Yeah, it is not a long lap, and it's why if we get like what we've got now, a decent green flag run, trust me, those 85 laps disappear so fast. They absolutely get obliterated around the circuit like this. The race distance is maybe a little bit shorter than some would have, in the sense that we do expect a lot of cautions, and that adds to race time, etc. But 85 laps around here, it's not very long. Like I say, if you run green all the way through, it's not a long race. Basically about an hour and a half if you go, which is fair distance itself. But Valtteri Lander on this pace, he is in a sense untouchable. Oscar Mangan's doing whatever he can. Carl Janssen might fancy thinking, do you know what, I might just get on with this myself. I might see if I can get through and try and gain a position. Speaking of gaining positions, this driver, Oscar Nespetti, has recently gained a position on Syandra. That was down Shoreline Drive on the previous lap.
Riley Thompson wants to follow as well. Here we go on the button for the 56 total downforce racing car. The slide continues for Andra, but of course he's feeling the pain now. As soon as he switches tires, he'll be able to push and try and advance his positioning. Left side of the screen, you can see the stint length so far. Of course, we've been under caution a couple of times today, but the leading 9 cars, Lewis, they are due for a pit stop anytime soon. The fuel window estimated at about 23-24 laps. Some drivers, like we were talking about the race length there, were complaining it doesn't necessarily fit into the perfect fuel window. My answer to that, IndyCar in the real world goes this distance as well.
My answer to that is good. It shouldn't fit into the... I mean, could you imagine? Oh, well, my stint length is 20 laps, so it would be really handy if the race was 60 laps, so then I could know that I could make a tip. Boring. Don't want any of that. I want it to be awkward. I want it to be difficult, because that's where you get the awkward, difficult calls. That's where it's, oh, I wonder if I could fuel save, gain 2 laps a stint, and then maybe I can do this, and maybe I can work that, and maybe that is what this is all about. That's what IndyCar racing is all about in the real world, not just here. It's about dealing with the awkward strategy in that sense, and seeing who is the best on that line. Like, if we wanted to be like that, we wouldn't have refueling. We'd just have one set of tyres, and we'd just see who does it. And I get it, people want to see that, fair enough. But that's not what we're trying to deliver here. We're trying to deliver the full package. And at the moment, it does seem that Valtteri Lander's there, because it's that switch of tyres. That's where he is so strong. If he is this strong on equal terms with everyone else, when we switch onto that Blackwall tyre that he's done so well on, oh, yeah. I would not be excited if I was everyone else on the track.
Couple of battles, the top 10 very much stretching themselves out as Pedro Sanchez-Albert gets on past Graham Saunders. Some questions as to whether the 100 maybe has some side pod damage after scraping the wall in turn 4. Riley Thompson is around in the 56 car. Big. Debris sliding across the track as well, and yellow flag immediately waves.
Yeah, you've got to, again, I've said this before, I said this in the previous few rounds, that debris, you do have to be careful of it. It's not like, invisible debris that you could just roll over and it'll be fine. Those will break your car. You must be careful of them. You must avoid them. Let's take a look at how that one unfolded. Obviously, the next corner, is it through contact? I'm going to assume, wild assumption here, overdid the corner and hit the wall.
I think just trying to push and close back up on the cars in front. Ooh. Oh, you can see the car sideways, agonizing slide into the wall, and for Riley Thompson, he'll have to come down pit road and see the extent of the damage. Potentially there as well, just a bit too much of the inside curb, Lewis.
Yeah, it looked like it just bottomed out, of course, these open wheelers. I mean, you drive some cars around here. Like I said, when I won around here, it was in touring cars and stuff where you can abuse track limits, where you can push it to the very limit and try and find your way over the curbs. But realistically, in these kind of cars, you can't. You've got to respect the circuit itself, and just pushed it a little bit too far. Syandra was quite good to avoid that, to be honest, coming through straight after. Same with Brian Kerry. Kerry was very close to being smashed by some of that debris as well.
Of course, pit lane not yet open because we haven't... Oh, no, apparently it is. Here comes one of the Sim Esports cars.
Whoa!
Oh, and he's just realized that it's not, in fact, open. I wonder if there's going to be a penalty. I think it's the 111 of Gustas Grimbergers. Let's go ahead straight to the replay, Lewis. This is going to be a fascinating onboard.
He's lucky that wasn't an invisible wall. Oh, my God. Let's take a look. So into pit lane, realizes, nope, not allowed to. it's so lucky that there is open walls like that around here at Long Beach. That was. I mean, I'm gonna give him. I know that might be a penalty, but I'm gonna give him some plaudits for that anyway, because that is impressive. But if there is a penalty for that, what is the penalty? Because that kind of stuff's pretty unprecedented. What did you do for that?
Well, my assumption is it would be an automated penalty there, Lewis, for,
good point,
potentially an unsafe pit entry. But I guess technically he didn't enter pit lane.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because in oval sense, obviously, you've got your cone to your safety point where you've got to come in before that point. Whereas if you were to go under that and then exit pit lane, not come in, you don't get a penalty for that, if I remember correctly. I would assume that applies to this, although I'm genuinely not sure. So I don't know.
All I know is I have to control my laughter right now. I'm sorry, Gustes, but you just... if there was ever a moment of the day, that was probably it. This, though, is going to be a very, very busy pit lane. Valtteri Alander fakes the field out. What an interesting call. Here comes everyone else. Yasheet stays out. Pedro Sanchez Albert is followed in by Graham Saunders. There comes the Simsa Esports cars. I am totally confused as to what Valtteri Alander is doing here.
I get he might have 4 or 5 laps of fuel more. Maybe. You've saved over the first couple of cautions. That, honestly, doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to me.
Even more confusing is Yao Vaz and Alex Ellis staying out with him, along with Syandra. So 4 cars yet to make a stop here. Austin Espety will cycle through to the race lead if we have green flag pit stop. So strategy is always such an important topic here at a street circuit like Long Beach. And, well, we are really being thrown some curveballs here.
I mean, look, I said it before that right at the start of the broadcast, that pole position around here is not a golden ticket. It is not an assured victory. Not like with the strategy and stuff that you'd have in something like Formula 1 at Monaco or anything like that. It is nothing like that. There is something about this circuit that, and to be fair, IndyCar racing in general, whenever we go to street circuit, is why it's so fascinating and interesting to watch. You don't really get many boring street course races in IndyCar, and we're certainly not getting one here in the ISOWC. It just constantly throws up something different and something interesting, and a call like that, we're sitting here thinking, what is that call? I don't understand, but obviously Valtteri Alander, Yawaz, they know things that we don't. They are in control of their car, and they've done this for long enough to understand how far they can go. And so clearly they've seen a number that maybe just pulls them up and be like, nah, I'm not feeling it now. I'm going to take this to the end of the tank, thanks.
So drivers, by the way, just discussing the start incident that we had between Chris Aon and Matt Pavelski. No hard feelings, it would appear. Both drivers just saying the realities of someone who's racing all the way in the land down under, competing against someone based here in United States. Of course, with the server being in the US as well, we don't like to talk about netcode, but sometimes it is just a reality of online top-level racing, and sometimes you just have to deal with it and not get a little bit too hung up on it. Lights are off on the pace car. We are about to go back to green flag action, and I tell you what, for Valtteri Alander, he's controlled the race so far. Can he continue to control it? Here we go, green flag back out with 4 cars on a quite befuddling pit strategy. Alander, Vaz, Ellis, Espety, and Andra, the top 5. And look at that from Alex Ellis, Lewis.
Yeah, watch Ellis here. He had a better launch there and was potentially looking for a move, but you've got to remember, so you've got Yao Vaz in there, you've got Balázs Reményik. I was trying to work out who we're currently riding on board with. Balázs Reményik is the second Yasheet car. It was in line, but is a lap down. Maybe affected things.
I know what's happened, and I think there might be some... Oh, no. It's just a very slow Graham Saunders who has lost the front wing of his car. We are going to have to go straight away and take a look at this one. I think I know what happened, Lewis, with Valtteri Alander now. He is elected to stay out, and he has also kept Balázs Reményik 1 lap down. Reményik would have cycled back onto the leading lap, and for Saunders, just too hot into the corner, and immediately you can see debris goes flying.
But why Balázs Reményik? I would understand if it was Oscar Mangan or someone like that, like a rival in the champion. Just way too much speed to turn on there. But Balázs Reményik is not necessarily a threat. Whilst Yas Heat are a threat for a race victory and stuff, and this is no disrespect to Balázs running it, is he the largest threat to Valtteri Landa's race here? I still don't buy that strategy. I still don't get it. I am still not over it. Andre Ike, though, dropping a couple of positions here as Janssen gets through. There he is, our race winner from the last time out, and Fontana also has some pressure from behind as Adam Blocker will fancy something.
And I think Blocker knows he needs to get on past Andreas Ike as soon as possible, because those core sim racing cars will scamper away down the road and leave Blocker in the clutches of Joshua Chin. Pedro Sanchez Albert is very close in pursuit as well. As you can see, Andreas Ike, who is now on a slightly different strategy. In terms of strategy, Lewis, let's kind of try and figure out the tires right now. Blocker and Chin have made their way onto the blacks. I don't recall Pedro Sanchez Albert doing a lap on the black mark tire yet.
Me neither. Unfortunately, obviously, we don't have that data, and it's where we'll get a bit lost. This is the fun part, though. I don't think so. Where they'll be running their hard compound tyre, obviously, a lot of these drivers have started on the softer alternate tyres. They'll run the primaries a little bit later on, which, in its sense, is its own little risk, but I don't think Albert has. I think it's been alternate.
The only way that I think iRacing gives you that potential to go check is to scroll back in the replay, and we won't necessarily do that while we're watching this live action. Look at Pedro Sanchez Albert right on the tail of the King of Chins. As we look rearwards at the 777 down into turn 6. This has been the scene of so many spins in the free practice sessions. Drivers have been very controlled here today. Nothing doing just yet from the Obsidian Racing driver. Chin loses the rear end for a moment, opens the door. Here comes the run down East Seaside Way.
Well, I mean, yeah, you said that you weren't going to do it, but I did. Has not been on the primary hard tyres, has been on the alternates all race, but let's see if he can make the move here on these softer tyres, and certainly does. Nice move down into turn 9, committed. Josh Chin not fancying trying to fight that one, blocking, defending or anything like that. Let it happen on the drive on the softer tyres.
Ooh, the Simsa Esports cars behind almost get together. That is the danger of the hairpin when you get checked up, and Ramez Azam now has to look in his rear view mirror. I don't think Gustas Grimbergus is going to be too patient, even with his teammate, given the way that the strategy has cycled out for him, Lewis.
Just receiving in-game, there has been a penalty applied to the 111 of Gustas Grimbergus, being an end-of-line penalty to be served at the next caution, or 10 seconds in a post-race penalty if it stays green. Obviously, it's not going to stay... it could stay green. I was going to say about pit stops and stuff, and 10 seconds to be applied in pit stop. That's not how this works. So it could be 10 seconds, but I still suspect we're going to get a caution. That could be very costly indeed to Gustas Grimbergus.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Lewis, that is related to the pit entry, or rather, the non-pit entry that he made that mistake. And, you know, that's not the worst call, as you see Albert sliding down the inside of Blocker, so those red tires working a treat for the Obsidian Racing driver. But pit lane was closed. He was lucky that wasn't a wall. Albert's into the wall. Talking of walls, all sorts of carnage here on the streets of Long Beach.
I think Albert might have just missed it. I'm not 100% sure, but it was tight. It was close. It was closer than you'd want to be. Either way, he is going to be under threat because he did not get a good launch off of the corner. Still plenty of battles happening a little bit further up. Syandra, who's currently leading this little train. We're focused on Brian Carey with Alexander Walton and Oscar Mangan, who's trying to move up. The highest placed driver who's pitted on the previous caution is Oscar Mangan. Obviously got his teammate close in tow. 30 laps into the race. Maybe Valtteri Landa's trying to extend this one to make it just a 2-stop race, which is going to be a tight call, but either way, maybe worth a gamble. If they were to pit now, of course, they could do it theoretically on one more stop.
And the pit lane time here is about 40 seconds, so if Alander does have to make a green flag stop, he will definitely be at the tail end of the field. So, as Alander's down on pit lane.
Yeah, right. Saw that go to 0.
So, the race leader has had to come down. And this is why this is such an interesting call that he didn't come down the last time around, Lewis.
Yeah, this is the bold move. He's stayed out for an extra 5 laps. It was a bold call. He was not the only driver to do it, but has come down the pit lane, has affected that change, is coming in for a pit stop. Is it going out on the Blackwall tyres? No, it is not. Going to stay on the red, softer, alternate tyres. I mean, I still think it's a brave call to not pit under a caution, because you're costing yourself. I mean, look at the pit lane time. Look at how slow he's running. He's effectively hoping for another caution to try and get back in this. But bold call, but far be it from me to question the call of the fast Finn Valtteri Alander.
The championship leader, well, doesn't necessarily need a victory here. And, well, all we can say is if his spotter is listening on, Iku Merikala, I hope you are a bit smarter than us in the commentary booth, which is not necessarily...
Not hard.
Yeah, not the hardest task. Pedro Sanchez Albert getting on past Andreas Icon, the black mark tires, so you can just see how quick that this car is looking now. I see Manuel Domingo has some damage. Oh, that's the rear wing dangling. This won't be a caution. Yes, it might be, because he's lost control.
Yeah, that could be big. Might be allowed to sort of cut in through the pit lane. There is an entrance on the right-hand side just here. He's going to go through the hairpin regardless, so he's going to try and continue around. But big damage anyway. Jalvaz into the pit lane. Did notice that. I think Alex Ellis might have been as well. So, yep, running through. Pit lane sequence continuing for those that follow Valtteri Alander and stayed out.
First up, I'd just like to make a public comment for... usually we have Hugo Luis. Oh, there's contact with Severi Seppa and Christian Steele. Nowhere to go. Steele will have to come down onto the pit road as well, unless he's gotten very, very fortunate with that. No Hugo Luis in the production booth. Instead, he's left the responsibility all on my shoulders, and so hopefully can follow along with all the action. Here's the onboard, though, with the Steely rocket machine.
Yeah, you can see here it just slows up so fast. There is no way on this earth that Christian Steele could do anything about that. We'll be in the pit lane to repair it. That is a shame, because that was a hard hit as well at some fairly high speed. Syandra also into the pit lane. So Espati, currently our race leader, eventually, not like next lap, but in a few laps' time, it will head the way of Oscar Mangan and Carl Janssen. So we are looking at least at some point on the running order to have a Core Sim Racing 1-2 at least on the road at some point. Whether it's going to end that way, or you'd be a braver man than me to make that call. Although I did that call, Carl
you
Janssen,
did.
so
You did, and I tell you what a turnaround from the start of the season. I mean, you think about the carnage we had at turn 1 of Watkins Glen, Lewis. I mean, both of the core cars involved in some sort of issue. I don't even think Janssen got past turn 2 in the race. It's been a very impressive bounce back. They were strong on the ovals as well. That affiliation with Team Talent really working wonders in the IR18.
Yeah, what caught my eye, I mean, Janssen's had a lot of experience in sim racing, fair enough. We've spoken about the lack of experience in the IR18 on the IndyCar scene here on iRacing, but Janssen really impressed me in the previous race, not previous race, the race before previous rather, when we raced at Sebring, and not quite, but almost had an answer. Almost. It was close. Almost having an answer to Valtteri Alander, and really went toe-to-toe and made Valtteri Alander work for that win. And that I really liked seeing. And it looks like the Core Sim Racing duo of Mangan and Janssen are making him work for it again.
That looked like Henry Bennett had to take avoiding action from one of the Simsa Esports car. It's the 172 of Alexander Walton, and causing a traffic jam with the Core Sim Racing cars trying to come through and get a lap on these guys.
Yeah, this is a little bit dicey. There they go. So Oscar Mangan making that move and running onto EC side way, and Janssen's going to be diving into that. I'm assuming there's a fair amount of damage as well on the car of Alexander Walton as we ride on board with Pedro Sanchez Albert. Oh, this is going to be a little bit dicey and a little bit concerning.
And well, this is where the race is really opening up. Adam Blocker has gotten swarmed by Simsa Esports Ramez Azam, and he's trying to defend right now. Brian Carey down onto the pit road, so he relinquishes second place on the track, releases Mangan and Janssen up into second and third, but Janssen and Mangan are on the black mark tire. Pedro Sanchez Albert is making headway with the red mark tire right now, Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those things at Long Beach. As you get involved in traffic, you get a part of it, it can be really tricky. It can cost you an awful lot of time. Obviously driving around just by himself at the moment. Valtteri Alander will be rubbing his hands, although hopefully not, will be focused on driving, but you know what I mean, rubbing his hands with joy. Perfect clean air for the next sort of 7-8 seconds for Valtteri Alander, who we're presently riding on board with. So much space to basically just do what he wants and run the race that he wants. A caution now, though, might spice things up. Might work for Valtteri Alander, who knows, but might spice things up and go against him, so he's got to be careful with this kind of strategy. I'd suspect he'll be fuel saving a little bit just to try and extend the fuel mileage and make sure he can do it on just one more stop.
Does this race really need more spice right now, Lewis? And I say that as someone who likes it spicy.
Absolutely not. We've got plenty on the table. Alexander Walton coming into the pit lane, Adam Blocker as well. This is the beauty of this race.
Sorry,
it's
Lewis.
Intriguing.
Pierre Verne around at the hairpin. Is he going to be able to find a spot to bring that car back? Oh, he's having to back up right now. I wonder if there's damage to the 62 car for Race Clutch. We stay under green flag conditions. He is still waiting for an opportunity to make his way around. And I like this call from Race Control because Pierre Verne is being very respectful right now. Yeah, the... how to put this nicely, the worst attempt at a flick spin. I know he probably wasn't attempting it, but you know, at this point, yeah, because that's a damage on the front wing of who was that coming in? Was that Joshua Chin? Yeah, yellow flag is out because unfortunately Pierre Verne unable to spin that car around. This blows things completely wide open. Chin had come down the previous lap to get the black mark tires off and switch to the reds. Damage on his car. Adam Blocker responded this time around. Spice, like you said, Lewis, it's in the air here in Long Beach.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting indeed. I don't know who this works out for. I think it might actually work out for Valtteri Alander more so than anyone else, but because there'll be a couple of people that will come into the pit lane, it will close him up to the group ahead. And from this point, I'm pretty sure he can definitely do it on one more stop, whereas everyone else, maybe there's the question of two. It depends on how long they want to really push it, but yeah, interesting call. I mean, realistically, just being honest here, I think they could have got away with it without it being. It depends on the flick spin, realistically, and you know, obviously being very, very careful, very, very cautious not to drive into the racing line was Pierre Verne. But you know, realistically, you wait for the right space on track. You rev it up a bit, you go for a bit of a flick spin and get on with it. But yeah, not in this scenario. Oh, by himself as well.
Just lit up the rears, I think, kind of caught out by Seppa, kind of slowly making his way through the hairpin. Alander comes across the scene of the incident, says thank you very much. Changes the strategy up here, as you can see one more time. Oh, the Race Clutch car behind also makes contact with the wall. Oh, it really is a track where the walls are magnets, and I think a couple of cars are finding that out the hard way. Looks like all okay on the car for Pierre Verne. Interestingly, Joshua Chin realized if he stayed out on track, Lewis, or rather, if he came down into pit road and came into his box, he would be one lap down. He still has to come to the pits and get that damage repaired.
Yeah, so did see him drive through pit lane. As soon as the caution came out, was like, no, I'm not pitting this time. I'm going to wait, like you say, play the cards right. That is nice. That is heads-up driving, obviously being told a little bit and just focusing himself. And it's very, very smart call. I do like that kind of stuff of again, playing the cards that you have. Yes, got to repair damage, but you'd rather do it when everyone else is under caution, everyone else is driving around slowly, and not lose a lap. 100%. You take that every single day of the week. That will feel like almost a little victory in itself.
So, does Espity come into pit road? Yes, he does. Here come the core cars as well. They do not want to be on the black tires for any longer than they have to. They are followed in by Pedro Santos Albert, who will feel the pain. This time around, I would assume Henry Bennett will get back onto the lead lap. He'll be thrilled to try and recover some championship points in what's been a tough season for the Powerslide Motorsports team. Talking of Blocker and Chin, because those were the two cars behind the core sim racing duo, Lewis. Well, for Adam Blocker, the timing of the caution, excuse me, really couldn't have been any worse because his teammate Brian Carey, who started all the way down in 18th position, is now in front of Adam Blocker. Yeah,
like I say, it works for some, doesn't work for others. It's all about like how you play things out strategy-wise and find your way through. And this is where the race becomes really, really complicated. And you have to. It's hard, but you have to focus on your own race. Kind of almost ignore everyone else. Think, oh, okay, the course has come out. How does this work for me? I don't really care about the rest of the field. I'm driving my own race. What works for me? And because if you're getting embroiled in everyone else's strategy, you're thinking, where's Valtteri? Where's this guy? Where's Alex Ellis? He was marching up the order. Oh, those guys. It's so much to think about. You're just like, nope, close all that off. Drive your own race. By the way, Gustus Grimbergus, as we were saying earlier, receiving an end-of-line penalty for the previous caution coming into pit lane and obviously not committing it. It does say that it is it's a pit lane issue, which I think is the nicest way of putting it.
Well, at the end of the day, Lewis, the end result, if he had entered a closed pit, would have been an end-of-line penalty. So he's paying the price right now for just an unfortunate mistake. And lights are off on the pace car. His teammate Ramez Azam will lead us back to the green flag action. Yeah, brilliant. See what Ramez Azam can do, but understanding exactly what is behind him is a fair amount of pressure. You've got Peter Zuber a lap down the next car, but then you've got Valtteri Alander, Brendan Lichtenberg, Yao Vaz, Alex Ellis as well. But obviously you're focused on the 77 that is sat basically third car in line, that is going to be marching forward and looking for a victory. Oscar Mankin and Carl Janssen, they are dropped right into the middle of the pack. This is going to be interesting. Cautions have been the name of the game so far. Ramez Azam, 16 positions. He leads us back, and already look at the race clutch car diving out onto the pit lane. He wants no part of being in the way. Yao Vaz on the button as we get back underway, and he tries to defend from Alex Ellis. Of course, not just push to pass, it's push to defend as well. Look at the 5 car looking to the inside, realizes he's a bit too far back. You can see Yao Vaz is on the black mark tire right now. He's in a very comfortable position, Lewis, given how things have played out. That was tight from Ellis, maybe running into the back of Yao Vaz into the fountain section, which we've seen a few times. Just got a little bit too close to the rear end of the As Heat car, and could have ended in tears, didn't so. You know, they're all clean. Here we go. There's the dive. Whoa, that is an absolute sender. Said every corner around here is an overtaken opportunity. Alex Ellis, who is well versed at passing at the moment, making that one stick. And again, with Alex Ellis, let's talk about it, has ticked off the hard tyres, is on strategy to do very, very well, plus 21. Brian Carey slips on past Vaz on the red, so this is where the pain will be felt by the Yas Heat driver. He's just got to stay the course and get to the end of the race. Blocker makes contact with Sayandra. There's almost a checkup coming out of the hairpin section. They are too wide coming to the start-finish line. Yeah, this is kind of what we would expect. It's the tight stuff, that action that we so frequently see. Sayandra, I'm not sure that car is going to be 110%. It was a bit of a whack. I think it might be all right, but either way, he's being passed left, right, and centre. That rear wing is dangling all over the shop. Austin Espity says, I will go around the fountain. I can't afford to wait because I've got the core drivers in my rear view mirrors. Pain for Sayandra, who has not enjoyed the best season so far. And he told us in the pre-race, feeling a bit frustrated. He's doing a wonderful job, though, to keep us under green flag conditions. Yeah, this, considering that rear wing is not attached and is barely doing anything, I am genuinely impressed that he is keeping this car on track and going. Brian Carey, though, getting down the inside of Lichtenberg, and that is on the run down into turn 9. That is a decent move. This is looking good for Brian Carey right now. For a moment, I thought I saw a car off into the wall, but I think that was just my eyes playing tricks on me. Once more through the very tight hairpin section. Blocker is actually in front of the Core Sim Racing car, so I said that the strategy hadn't worked out necessarily in his favor. Well, the Core Sim Racing cars have to do the hard work all over again as Valtteri Alander back to the pointy end of things. Yeah, it looked like it might have been a bit of an easy pass. He was on the push to pass, running down to turn 1, and based on how it looked when we caught it, I don't think Azam really fought that one too hard. The move done, Valtteri Alander once again resuming form in the position that he likes so much, leading the race in the ISOWC. Once again, has led laps in every single one of the races, has won 2 of them, and wasn't far away from winning the 3rd. Looks like he wants to return to winning ways in the form that we saw him do so well in the first couple of races. I would expect, by the way, Adam Blocker is just expecting a drive-through penalty to come at any point as Yavaz on the button slips on past the hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg. Race Control had said in the build-up to the race, if you try something into the hairpin and something happens in terms of contact, expect the drive-through, expect some penalty points as well, and I think he realizes he can't afford to wait. The hyperstar gets swarmed as Walton takes advantage as well.
Yeah, that was an absolute send from Adam Blocker down into the hairpin, opened the door, and Lichtenberg got out of the way and basically just opened the door and said, yeah, okay, fine, you as well. And here's another one, as Oscar Mangan's going to be to the inside. Janssen will be trying to follow his way through at some point, but going into the fountain section, that one's not going to be on. So at least there is a move from Mangan riding on board with Janssen, and you can see definitely nowhere through on the Team i5G driver right now.
You could see, by the way, left side of the screen, just how chaotic the race has been in terms of strategies playing themselves out. Here goes the Swede to the inside, makes it look quite easy, almost clips the inside wall. Oh, Espety! Oh, wonderful run through the corner, and the 7 car sweeps his way back into the top 10.
That is nice work. That is heads-up driving again, seeing what was unfolding, and here goes Pedro Sanchez Albert as well to make that move. I feel bad for Lichtenberg. That is not fair, not even fair. Just how people are driving past you left, right and centre, but that is what we expect from these tyres. They are hard to work. You were saying before that there is a large difference, around about a second, between the primary tyres and the alternates around here at Long Beach. For Valtteri Alander, he has not run those harder tyres yet. That is basically what is left on the race as might be his biggest threat. There goes Oscar Mangan past Alexander Walton. Nice move.
Interesting. I am fascinated by... we are past the halfway point officially, by the way, if I'm doing the math correctly. Lap 43. Indeed. Estimated on my timing screen, 47 minutes still to go. I must say, these next 47 minutes for some of these drivers is going to be so tense, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly is, especially if a caution comes out. Excuse
me, Balislav Remenick, talking of cautions, are we due for another one? It looks like Remenick might be able to limp this car back down to pit road. I tell you what, Lewis, let's go see what befell the 32 car here.
Pretty sure going to run out of T4, maybe T5, smash the wall. We'll take our look. This is down onto what is the slip road for the Queen's Way, and then straight out. Yeah, easily done. That I've seen that one time and time again. Ran in way too hard into T5 and just basically bounced straight into the wall. Not pretty, but certainly has happened to quite a few.
And check this out. It was Severi Seppa and Gustas Grimberger. Grimberger says, thank you very much. I've been dropped down the order. I can't afford to wait around. Wonderful move there from the 111 already. Trying to make headway from the penalty that he had to serve this time around. An end-of-line penalty on the 111 machine. Blown away by Valtteri Alander here today, because 5 seconds is the gap already, but really we're looking more at Alex Ellis and company, who is doing a good job, Lewis, in terms of lap time, but 6/10 off the pace of the 77 car.
Yeah, I mean, again, really, really impressive from Alex Ellis to be running in that position right now. 6 seconds off, especially from starting from the tail end of the field, but Valtteri Alander constantly delivers every time, and if he continues his natural form of actually doing much better than everyone else on the primary tyre, then he is going to be the hardest of hard men to beat, potentially even impossible. But let's be real, impossible's not a thing in sim racing and motorsport. Don't rule anything out, and certainly with cautions on the horizon, and like I say, he's not running the strategy in the standard form that everyone else is. Most of the other drivers, most of the other contenders are in position to run the Redwall softer alternate tyres to the end of the race, and that is going to play its part.
As expected, drive-through penalty handed down to Adam Blocker in the 74. They were warned by Race Control previously, and Race Control already in qualifying set the tone by giving a couple of cars their marching orders for not following their instructions in qualifying. It's played out in the race as well. Blocker will be down in the next couple of laps to serve the pain. 30 seconds is the penalty. He should, in effect of time, he should drop then to the tail end of the leading lap. He'll be embroiled in a fight once more with the King of Chins, who is on the leading lap now, Lewis, but trying to recover from whatever damage he sustained.
Yeah, and he's not far off the back of Severus Epper and Riley Thompson as well, so he might be working his way up. There goes Adam Blocker, then straight down onto pit road here at Long Beach, and it is a slow run, and you can feel them breezing past at such speed as, here we go, Riley Thompson, speaking of which, has had issues at the hairpin. And more.
That's Syandra, who I think has tried to roll that car back out onto track. Yellow flag will have to wave as Andra is down on pit road. That is a shame because it was looking like we were getting the green flag run. Let's go ahead, take a look at this RaceSpotTV replay, Lewis.
And this is a very interesting time as well with how long's left to go in the race. We're going to look first at Riley Thompson. So driving through at the moment. Is going to be escorted. What? Nope, just going to drive off. Why not? Why bother?
Safely rejoins, though. I think that's the important part. So some commotion there. Jump on board with Andra, and let's take a look at this. Oh,
way too quick.
Mirror incident of what we've seen not just once but twice today so far, Lewis.
Yeah, and then basically trying to get out of the road just in case anyone's closing in behind. Just a bit too late into turn one, and you trust me with this. And this is why I'm actually surprised that more people don't turn right or go straight on, rather. You know, on Shoreline Drive, is your brake going in there, and believe me, you know, as soon as you hit the brakes, you're like, that's too late. I'm going straight on here. What drama?
What has just happened? What?
And who was it?
I think Lichtenberg might be the Domingo, Seppa, Bennett, Chin, Thompson. Utterly confused right now.
So, as far as I can see, we'll take another look at this. I think this might be Lichtenberg, a little bit too hot, and then getting hit from the rear end of Pierre Verne. That is Verne, who is directly on his rear end. Let's see how this one goes. So, way too quick into the hairpin, considering we're under caution. Totally unnecessary. Pops off the rear suspension, and everyone else is slowing down behind. You've got debris everywhere. That is the definition of unnecessary.
So Seppa gets away. Bennett, has to back up.
Right.
Domingo, I think got a bit scared there. But
I don't blame him.
I would not blame him either there, but you don't like to see this kind of stuff under caution, to be completely honest, Lewis. Just a mistake from the Hyperstar.
Yeah, it's a shame from Lichtenberg, but look, it's happened. Overdid it into the hairpin, which is unnecessary, and then, of course, as he's come to a stop, Concertina Effect says that Pierre Verne has got nowhere to go. Is coming through expecting you to depart the corner. I know, obviously, maybe a little bit too close considering under caution or whatever, but yeah, you're trying to catch up to the rear end of the train as quick as possible so we can get the pit stop sequence underway. And yeah, just clearly misjudged it to the highest degree and the highest order, and made quite a significant amount of contact. Now, with it being at this point in the race, there's 40 laps to go. We are outside of the pit window. Surely the fuel's not going to go. But either way, we have got some biters in the pit lane, including Valtteri Alander and Ramez Azam.
I think Alander is realizing he needs to get the stint on the black mark tires done as soon as physically possible. Sanchez Albert is down on the pit road to shed the black mark tires. This is very, very interesting. Yao Vaz has elected not to come down onto pit road and get back onto the alternate tire. There is all sorts of strategy. I can't wait to talk to these drivers at the conclusion of this race, Lewis, and just try and understand what all the emotions going through their heads are as they try and make these decisions.
This is why we need the live race interviews. Have a little chat with them whilst we're under caution. Have a little word, see what's going on, see why things are going the way they are. You know, I'm the kind of person that doesn't want to ask them, what's your strategy here? Because I don't want to know. I want to work that one out myself. You know, I like the idea of we're all trying to figure things out as we go as well. But for Alander and stuff, yeah, I want to know the emotion. I want to know the belief. Does Valtteri Alander still believe he can win this race? Because this genuinely puts an enormous question on it. Has to run these tyres for at least laps, whatever. But the expectation is has to make another pit stop and then go on to the alternate tyres and then go to the end of the race. But then everyone else ahead of him only has to make one more stop as well.
Question for you, Lewis, is Alander is on to those prime. If you were going to give Alander a mark out of 10 on the season, what would you have given him so far?
8.9. 9.
So this is how you know these guys are top-level drivers. Valtteri Alander has given himself a 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And I must say as well, Lewis, we'll be back in action, not for ISOWC competition in 7 days' time, but instead for the VRS SCO Sprint Masters. $25,000 on the line. Great to have a Team GT and championship back into this iRacing service. I was listening to one of his teammates who submitted some media for us as part of our extended pre-show that we hope to have there. I must say, Tuomas Tatila is very much an interesting figure, interesting sense of humor. The same can be said for Valtteri Alander. I think we are getting back to the action this time around, though, and it's Alex Ellis, 24 positions gained. Pace car is down. It's VRS Satellite Racing at the front, but look out for Brian Carey. He put it on pole the last time the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship was here. Lap 48 out of 85. Still a long way to go, Lewis.
Yeah, Valtteri Alander is a bit of a notice down, I think, in maybe 14th position, or might be 12th rather, all the way down the order, right on the back of Adam Blocker, so has a lot of work to do and on those harder tyres, but great launch from Alex Ellis. Like you say, from 25th position, you brought up that fact about John Watson, from 24th position to the victory in Formula 1 in Long Beach.
Let's talk a bit more about the history here as we get back to the action. And you see Andreas Eich is being pressured by Gustas Grimbergers regularly. Fans in attendance here for the Grand Prix of Long Beach exceeding 200,000 people. It is absolutely astonishing. So many interesting support races have taken place over the years. You have now a double header between IndyCar and IMSA competition. And they bring their prototypes and the GTLM cars out to play here on the street. Such an interesting race weekend. Talked about first-time winners for some male people in the past. Catherine Legg, who is now an icon of sports car racing. In 2005, she won in the Atlantic Championship. Her first start in the series, she also became the first female driver to win a developmental open-wheel race in North America. Such an interesting venue with so much history. And you see the wonderful job the iRacing team has done, as that's Gustas Grimbergers getting on past Andreas Eich. They've done a wonderful job, Lewis, of bringing this track to life, all the buildings around it. When the Grand Prix started back in the 70s, this was not such a hoity-toity area, if you will allow me to say that. Now this area has really developed. It is really a jewel in sports car racing and open-wheel racing, to be honest.
It's a truly beautiful venue. You've got so much going on around here, be it from the aquarium to the convention centre that's in the middle of this kind of part of it. It really is quite a striking venue these days, and to have it built up and brought in the sort of quality that we'd expect on iRacing, it really is a brilliant experience and thrill-wide to drive around every single time we come here. A little bit of contact there might well have just pushed, I think, was that Andre Eich who might have been into the barrier a little bit ahead, not 100% sure, but either way, certainly not ideal. Was Adam Blocker is defending here from Valtteri Alander, trying to gain the spot.
And if I'm Blocker, do you defend this? Because black versus red, he doesn't have a choice. He almost slides into the barrier. There goes Valtteri Alander into 11th position. Still plenty of work for him to do. For the first time, the race leader has not been able to break away by the same margin. Alex Ellis is being kept honest by Brian Carey. It's great to see the Canadian enjoying a strong run here, but there's still a long way to go. It's lap 51, Lewis. 35 to go.
Yeah, so, its own race in a sense. As you can see in the background, Oscar Mangan is trying desperately to get by the Yas Heat driver of Yao Vaz, who is on the harder tyre right now. It's just about finding where that move is going to come. We look backwards from Yao Vaz. That is not a good drive off of the hairpin. This could be it on shoreline drive for Oscar Mangan to try and get through and up in the third place.
Not on the button, and that's because out of his 10 usages, Mangan is down to just 3 left to go. He needs to ration them out. He's too far behind the former World Championship competitor dating back to the open wheel days to make anything stick. You can see Severi Seppa is on the button, and that's because Manuel Domingo, who is 2 laps down, slips on past. There goes the flying Finn. Here comes Adam Blocker to take advantage.
Yeah, blocker not quite close enough as well. The concertina effect nearly getting hit from the rear from Ramez Azam as well as they were running through that fountain section. It wasn't quite enough, but like I say, you've always got to be careful. When you're driving through that section, you have to be keeping your eye not on the car directly ahead of you, but on the car a couple of cars ahead, because if they start slowing down, you need to be prepared that you're going to have to slow down that little bit more. At the moment, this is drama time for Oscar Mangan. Desperately needs to get through. If he has aspirations in this championship, needs to outscore Valtteri Alander by a decent bit. Today could be the day. I mean, I don't see Valtteri Alander finishing lower than 5th, even if the strategy does work out in the worst possible way. But desperately needs to go. When do you just suck it up and think, I've got to use that push to pass to get through? Oh, probably not now. That might be a caution hit.
I don't think so, because Seppa is at the tail end of the field. He will spin that around.
Okay.
We stay under green. There comes Joshua Chin. We will take a look at the replay in a few moments' time, Lewis. Let's stick with this live coverage for now. It is 0.6 of a second. The gap for the race lead has never been this close. And I tell you what, if the core drivers can get on past Yao Vaz, they are going to be looking in a very comfortable position.
Yeah, and that's why Oscar Mangan is saving the push to pass, because he doesn't want to use it against Yao Vaz. He can see that Alex Ellis hasn't run away here. Oh, there's a bit of a mistake there from Vaz. This might be the position for Oscar Mangan. We've seen it go around the outside on the inside of 9, whichever way you can make it stick. He's got to the inside, and he's got the position done on the 89. Vaz did not fight that one. Just a little bit too slow onto East Seaside Way. And that is the position sorted. See if Janssen can also get through shortly.
Oh! Vaz lights up the rear end. There's contact with Carl Janssen. He spun into pit road.
That's a caution.
This is surely a caution, but I tell you what, that is heartbreak for Yao Vaz, who was trying something different. There we go. The inevitable has happened. We are back under yellow flag conditions.
Yeah, we need to take a second look at that. This will be a pit lane for pretty much everyone, because they'll be able to get to the end realistically, or not quite actually from this point, but it'll be not too far away. We'll be closing in on that. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Let's take a look. So Vaz a little bit wide, lights it up, and Janssen, yeah, that's a shame.
Nowhere to go, and immediately you saw the right rear suspension on Vaz's car was done for. Nothing he could do to even hang on to the car. We'll take another look at it and maybe even slow this one down. That is, it's just heartbreak for both of the drivers. Janssen has already left the session. He's realized that car is so done for. He's going to have a long repair to have, just be laps down and recover whatever points he can do. For Vaz, it'll be interesting to see if he can recover from this one. Who's that car that slips on through, just between the inside of the wall and Carl Janssen there, Lewis?
I'm not 100% sure who that was. It was pretty tight margins. It might be Alexander Walton. We'll have to take a look as it was. Oh, it's Austin Esparty we're currently on board with. Walton's the one that goes through just there. It is. Whoa! Oh, I think there might be a touch of damage on the right-hand side. Might just be lucky, but that is tight.
One more look, and I think we have to jump back to live pictures as soon as possible, because like you said, this opens the door, I think, for a couple of cars to come down onto pit road. Here we go. Here we go. You know what? Obvious man alive today.
Yeah, that you don't get much tighter than that. That is pretty crazy. Gustus Grimbergus went through all the damage as well, and I believe has continued out, so I think he might also be fairly lucky, avoided the debris. And what we're seeing here is no one's actually come into the pit lane. Everyone's staying out, so everyone's thinking it's a little bit too tight. Like you say, I think it's more sort of 25 laps to go, and we're good.
You can see there, Lewis, lights are still on the pace car, so if anyone's coming down, it would likely be this time around.
Oh, good point. Yeah, they might have left it. I mean, I'm still not 100% sure. Remember that the early stint of the race, it was, of course, Valtteri Alander who did go a fair margin into that first stint. I'll try and figure out roughly when it was. I think it was lap 31, or 30 rather, he entered pit lane. So realistically is in that kind of margin, but then pit lane sequence was kind of extended by. Let's take a look at the replay as to what happened to Seppa. Just again, same thing, lighting it out of the hairpin.
I tell you what, I want to take an onboard look with Yao Vaz and see exactly what happens here. He has to give a little bit of space, and he gets on the power with the wheel still cranked to the right-hand side, and from there you can see, once the contact happened, nothing he could do.
It's just popped the suspension. As soon as you've gone through that, it's the lightest brush, I know, and it's pretty, you're sat there thinking, that's rubbish. It would never happen in real life. When we have seen that happen time and time and time again in real life. It is only the smallest brush that's required, and if it's done in the right way, it can just break the rear suspension straight off. There's so much power going through the wheel. Now we are seeing people enter the pit lane, so this is where things get interesting, including Valtteri Alander, who's going to jump off of those tyres. Smart move from him.
Well, you know what I'm thinking here, Lewis? What if you don't have to pit again? There is a very distinct possibility that we have a number of cautions that extend the stint even further. You could go to the end from here.
If it goes green from this point, I think you're looking at not making it. It'll be tight, but I think you're looking at not making it. But do the maths. Math. Sorry. Think about it for a sec. We've had so many cautions today that the likelihood of running 30 laps to the end is pretty unlikely. So 30 laps, yeah, if we get enough cautions, then that's kind of the expectation. And as I was saying, Valtteri Alander, the first in the race, whilst, yes, we did have 2 or 3 cautions, was able to get 30 laps out of the car. So bold strategy. I'm not sure which way I would be on, but it is bold nonetheless.
So the previous race leader finds himself now in 5th, and you can see Mangan and Espiti are in 18 laps into the run, so guaranteed they'll need another stop. For Azam and Albert, they find themselves in the very same position. I tell you what here, Lewis, if Alex Ellis can pull this one off, and Brian Carey, Alexander Walton round out the podium, they will be thrilled given where they started in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, with the me cursing everyone, because unfortunately that's just how it has been. I mean, I started out on RaceSpot with a great one, and since then it's been terrible. Mystic Lewis does no longer exist, and definitely needs to go into the shed and work that one out. But either way, if you fancy cursing someone, I'll send you my PayPal details. $25. I'll curse whoever you want. But it's such a shame for Janssen. That is highly dragged, so undeserved. And not a mistake of his own. For Vaz, I get it. It is a shame. It is sad, but it was his own mistake. So it's kind of like I'm less sad about it for Janssen though. I understand. I would have ultra forward and quit straight on the spot because that would have been heartbreaking once again.
Here we go. Pace car back down onto the safety of pit lane. This time around, Oscar Mangan holds the field. It's his right to do so. Causes a checkup. We are back to the green flag action, and I wonder if everyone got through that safely, Lewis.
I think they did, but I think he's trying to eye up, potentially making some moves happen. Alexander Walton will be trying to make one on Brian Carey as they're going to run side by side into turn 1 and potentially even around the outside of Alex Ellis. But that one's not going to stick. Ellis is going to hang on. Brian Carey potentially going to lose position as well to Gustus Grimbergus as well.
Very interesting start. It is the right of the race leader to go where they want. Usually you'd assume that the smartest thing to do is to go as soon as you get out of the hairpin because everyone is still checked up trying to work their way through the very tight left-hander. You can see in front it is frantic, it is hectic here on the start. Look at the 111 all over the back of the Canadian. Looks to the inside as we dive down onto EC side way. Brian Carey loses the position. Gustas Grimberger's back to 7th spot.
Yeah, but you've got to watch out Adam Blocker as well. There we go. He's looking out. And, of course, the driver directly behind him, Valtteri Alander. He'll fancy a move on Brian Carey if he has the opportunity. It's got to be the long way round to the penultimate corner, which is not going to work right now. Adam Blocker's tried that dive into the hairpin a few times. Was also going to give it a go on Grimbergus, but not yet. Brian Carey. And now he's got to deliver something special if he's going to keep Valtteri Alander on the button. Bay, what are you going on that side for, though?
Near disaster. Alander was on the button. Carey did not respond. And well, Alander almost into the wall and into the back of the 79 car. That was interesting. I wonder if Race Control will take a look at it.
Yeah, but for me, I mean, at least from where I was sat and what I'm looking at, Carey didn't move. He is sat, yes, it's a half a car width away from the wall. You might think, oh, just go either a full car width or sit on the wall. But he was sat at a fairly consistent radius around on the track. And I am baffled as to why Valtteri Landa thought it was a wise move to try and fit in a gap half the width of his own car and not go around the outside. But either way, he's made the move stick anyway.
I think you could
down
see
to an 8.
Well, I think you saw there, Lewis, the communication from Carey after the move was happened. I don't think he's too thrilled about that because, like you said, he was holding his line, didn't necessarily do anything wrong. I wonder if maybe there will be some interesting words shared after the fact. Here, though, is the battle for the net race lead. Alexander Walton on the button and around the outside. Can he make it stick? It's deep under the brakes from Alex Ellis. He's into the wall. Is there damage to the VRS Satellite Racing car?
That was tight. That was very, very tight. I think somehow, he might have gotten away with it. It was a bold attempt. Did think he was a little bit too hot down into turn 1. Did bump the wall pretty hard. I don't think he's going to be away scot-free, but I don't know how he's still driving, to be honest. I thought that would have completely ripped off the front right.
Interesting as well that these guys are fighting so hard that despite the fact that they might still have to come down onto pit lane like the cars in front, you can see the gap already up to almost 3 seconds as Oscar Mangan sets to work. The Irishman, a victory here today, would very much keep his championship hopes alive. And with Phil Kraus missing in action, visiting some family, we do hope that the Wisconsin native is enjoying that time with the family. So great that, at least in the U.S., travel is opening up and people are able to reunite with people around the very big country. The championship fight for second very much will come down to the next couple of laps. Joshua Chin is into pit lane. I wonder if there's damage to the 93 car.
Are you rubbing it in that you got a big country?
Just a little bit big, and I don't think I'm rubbing it in.
It's a little bit bigger than my country.
Just acknowledging the fact that we can't necessarily drive from London to Birmingham, which is a rather short 3-hour drive. That's effectively me driving halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Yeah, okay, no, touche. I mean, yeah, the country's bigger, don't get me wrong. It is nice that, of course, it's one of those things of the particularly this year, as things open up, that naturally your first opportunity, family comes first. I know sim racing, money, etc., trying to go after the that nice model, the diecast that George Simmons is going to make for the champion. Nice, great, cool, but family comes first. You've got to go and see them, especially when it's like this. So hopefully Phil Kraus is enjoying himself and avoiding the chaos and carnage, and we'll be back next round. But we've got plenty of action to keep us thrilled. Ellis under attack from Walton.
Once more, battle for the net race lead comes into turn 1. Ellis is able to hold on, and this time I think arrests his momentum just that little bit more. Realizes that he was a bit close to disaster. As look at that, Walton tries because Grimbergus is applying pressure side by side. The teammates go, and Gustas Grimbergus gets the place done.
That is a fantastic move. Respect between the two teammates. You've got to wonder, is there a little bit of that damage that we're potentially expecting from Alex Ellis? Is it slowing him down? Is it causing him any sort of chaos right now? Yes, obviously the top lot are pulling away. I'm not going to say that it's because of that. That's more down to the fuel difference between these two. There's a wild amount between this group and the group ahead when it comes to the amount of weight that's behind the car. But you have to wonder that there is going to be at least some form of damage on Ellis's car. There's huge stuff between the teammates.
And I think that was Walton just missing the braking zone. Caution immediately back out because there is a disaster at the final corner. Valtteri Lander down on pit lane as something happened to the championship leader.
We'll have to take another look at that. Oh, it has. His front right is gone. Right, let's take a look at exactly how this one has unfolded through the hairpin. So we've got the two teammates running through. Focus on Valtteri Lander. Is it a Lander's mistake? Yes, it is.
A mistake from the championship leader. There will be a penalty to come down on that one, I would have to think. The first time, well, not the first time, because you think back to the end of the race at Auto Club, he has made another mistake, and the championship is blown wide open here, Lewis.
Cancel the early build of that diecast because this is wide open. This is exactly what we were saying about with Long Beach. Yes, pole position. Yes, dominance in the early stages and fantastic speed from Valtteri Lander. But fantastic speed does not net you a victory here. Not on this circuit, not on these famous streets. And just a little bit too eager, a little bit too pushing. And that damage is costly, but like you say, there's going to be a penalty as well. This race, I mean, everything that happens in this race, we're like, this race has become so much more interesting. I couldn't be more interested in this race if I tried. It's fantastic.
So there is the pace car as you see Oscar Mangan and Austin Espety have slowed to a crawl. Must be said, by the way, Espety doing a smashing job here to not just work his way up through the field, but also to be right on the pace of Oscar Mangan, keeping the Irishman very, very honest. Alander rolls off of pit road. He spent a considerable amount of time, 56 seconds getting damage repaired. He is 1 lap down, but this is how important championship points are, Lewis. He is going to finish this race and see what else he can get here today.
Yeah, I think he's just going to try and keep out of everyone's way. It's already been delivered as in-game, already being told from race control that car 77 will receive a drive-through penalty. That one obviously being Valtteri Alander. So he's out of the pit lane, he's a lap down, he's got a drive-through penalty sitting. So in a sense, he doesn't really care about overtaking anyone. He is not involved in any of that right now. It is just about getting past the 23 laps and just scoring the points for finishing, which realistically, I mean, he's still going to finish, I think that's 15th, 16th place, which, you know, could be worse. I think might drop a bit further back because of the penalty behind even Walton or whoever's out behind him either way. But it could be worse and just needs to grab those points now.
I tell you what, Lewis, I think this is the point in time where we have to throw up the point structure here to just try and illustrate what's going on. Mangan, 50 points was the gap effectively coming into this one. It will be down, if things hold as they are, to just 14 points with 2 rounds left to go.
Yeah, and that's it. It's so interesting as to how that's going to play out. Of course, we've got bonus points as well, which, let's be real, there's been a few picked up from Valtteri Alander. But that lead, by the way, is about to be switched as Oscar Mangan has, as we were expecting, they needed to make another pit stop. He has come down pit lane, obviously dragging Espety, Azam, Pedro Sanchez, Albert with him, which is going to relinquish the race lead. And he's going to drop quite a way back, by the way, into the danger pack, which is going to obviously cost him a few points. So has to work his way a bit further forward. So that's hold our horses on the old championship stuff. But Alex Ellis back out front.
And guess who's in second? Gustas Grimberges, who won, as I've mentioned, on a number of occasions. The last time the IndyCar iRacing Open Championship came to the streets of Long Beach, Adam Blocker in third. This is anyone's race, and we were talking about first-time winners in the past here in IndyCar competition. I think we're going to see a new first-time winner today.
I do get that vibe indeed. Like I say, it's been an incredible race. It's been a great season. Valtteri Alander, of course, has been taking control of it, but we've seen those mistakes start to creep in. The first 2 races, it was perfection, and I genuinely mean that. Race 1, it was building himself into it bit by bit. Race 2, it was utter dominance down in Florida over at Sebring. Race 3 rather, we were surprised at how much better he was at Fontana. Coming round to the start-finish line, though, coming round to the finish of the race, made that mistake, caused the contact with Christian Steele, and here, once again, with curiosity around the strategy, making a mistake. Is this going to sit on his mind?
And you'd have to say, I mean, given the performance that he's had, we'll get the bonus points as things stand in terms of fastest lap with his 106, a 5.37. That is a tenth quicker, or less than a tenth. Excuse me, it is a tenth quicker than Mangan with a 106.639. Just looking through all the times on my timing screen. A number of other cars have dipped below the 107 barrier, including Austin Espety. Very impressed by the 7, but just like Mangan, cycled now to the edge of the top 10. Lights are off on the pace car. This is a sprint to the end, and who knows if the first 9 or so cars can make it to the finish. For someone like Joshua Chin, never say never, such a good fuel saver. What can he do from 9th position? Top 5, Alex Ellis, Gustas Grimberges, Adam Blocker, Brian Carey, and Pierre Verne. We are back to the green flag action. 21 laps to go. Who knows who will win in round 4 of this ISOWC 2021 season? What we know is, Lewis, it will likely be a first-time winner unless by some miracle, Andreas Light can work his way up from 6th to 1st.
Which, again, I would not rule out with how this race has gone. He's worked his way up the order, most certainly. But that start from Alex Ellis was top-notch. But remember, and I'm going to bring it up again. I'm going to bring it up as many times as we need to. And because obviously we've had that caution. We don't know if it's obviously not been repaired. He's not come down pit lane. We don't know if Alex Ellis is still trailing some damage after that contact down at turn 1 a few laps ago. That car could be a bit slower, could be prey for Gustus Grimbergus to try and get through, and he is pretty tight right now. I don't think there's going to be a move down into T9, but Grimbergus means business. Adam Blocker from behind could be ready and willing to pounce on any issue between these two.
Grimbergus did say this is his chance for victory, and it's not been easy, but he's got that chance right in front of him. A checkup once more coming through the final corner. 20 laps to go, just under 40 miles. The race leaders on the button. Grimbergus only has 2 more usages left. Ellis with 7 to defend. He goes all the way to the inside wall. Grimbergus pops out at the very last moment. He sends it deep, and well, 2 drivers with real-world experience. We were talking about Moritz Lohner saying that real-world drivers aren't going to give you so much space. That's what we're going to see for the race lead today.
Yeah, this is why Adam Blocker is basically sat there thinking, yeah, that's fine. You do you, mate. You battle it out as hard as you want. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what happens between you. I'm going to wait for that door to be opened, and I'll be the first one to pounce. Alex Ellis is going to just try and basically drag the push-to-pass usages out of Gustus Grimbergus. Right now, might use the button, although might feel safe enough to defend of his own volition. Potentially, there's not even going to be an attempt from Gustus Grimbergus as well. He was looking, but no way through. But look at Adam Blocker, 8 usages left to go. Plenty.
It is wide open, and the King of Chins making his way through. There goes Grimbergus, forces the issue. He's to the pointy end of things. Ellis on the button, trying to respond. Grimbergus defends with his second final use. 1 more defense from Grimbergus. Alex Ellis is going to be all over the rear wing, side by side once more. And just like we saw a lap ago, the car in the lead, giving no space to the car behind.
I did wonder if, based on the previous lap, on that run into the hairpin where Grimbergus was so close, was going to go for a dive there. You can see in the slow speed section that the satellite car just doesn't look particularly fast. Again, you know, maybe this is damage, maybe this is just driving, tyre preservation, whatever, but it doesn't look as fast. Has dropped off a little bit already from Gustus Grimbergus and into the clutches of Adam Blocker. This could be good for Grimbergus, and I'd almost wonder if his next threat is in fact not Ellis but Blocker.
I would think so as well. Remember, of course, we saw Ellis scraping the wall at one point. We didn't know if there was damage, but the balance of the car might be very slightly off. Left side of the screen as the YouTube chat points out some of the biggest movers on the day so far. There goes Blocker onto the button. Watch for him to pop out in towards turn number 1. Ellis, 23 positions gained. If he gets this podium finish, he will be delighted after a disappointing qualifying. Here comes Blocker. Here comes the move. He's going to be a bit more insistent to fight it side by side, I would think, but in fact has to concede. And I tell you what, watch out for the King of Chins. He's up into 6th. Oscar Mangan into 8th.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Alex Ellis not on the button to defend, but alas, didn't feel it was necessary. It wasn't, but it was pretty tight as we look backwards from Grimbergus, our race leader, as we run around these tight and twisty streets onto Pine Avenue down towards East Seaside Way. Oh, there's been a spinner out in the background. That one will be Thompson, maybe.
It is indeed for the Total Downforce Racing number 56. Let's go and quickly take a look at the replay as I see Austin Espety is now on past Severi Seppo as well. This is coming through turn number 1, fighting with the Hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg in towards the fountain section, and that's an interesting place to lose the rear end of the car, and that left rear suspension, Lewis, is surely going to be damaged.
That was a hard hit indeed. I don't like seeing that. Just of his own volition, like I said, running a little bit too hard into the fountain section. Just there, you can see, just lifted off the brake a little bit too much and just ran it through a little bit too fast. The rear end says, I can't grip with that one, Sonny Jim, and let go, smashed into the barrier, and yeah, that'll be day done, unfortunately, in the realistic sense from Riley Thompson. Bit of a shame, especially sad to see that there's only 17 laps to go, but we'll desperately try and carry on. Somehow, hasn't actually broken it enough to require a pit lane entry, so he's going to continue on in 14th spot.
So, surprising given what we saw slightly earlier with Carl Janssen and Yao Vaz. I think Janssen would be hoping to have that suspension stolen from Thompson's car and maybe installed into the core sim racing machine the next time we were in action from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. That's going to be a couple of weeks from now after a very, very busy June. It's going to start getting a bit easier as we head to the month of July. Ramez Azam, oh no, East Side Way has claimed another victim. It's the Simsa Esports 65.
Yeah, and that is quite broken. You wait for him to try and turn in at turn 9, and that is not going to go anywhere. I wonder if it'll be bad enough to require a caution. Let's take a look at what happened. It'll be way too much speed in for him. Oh, and then just, let the rear go on the power too much. Oh, and Seppa gets caught up as well.
Is the wonders of online racing. He blinks himself back into existence. Let's take a look on board with Seppa's point of view. You can see he has to give room for Pedro Sanchez Albert to get on through, and he does a good job to slow that one down and I think gets his reward with a clean car. I see something happen to the Hyperstar. Let's check out for Brendan Lichtenberg what happens here. He's slow behind the still slow Ramez Azam, and I think just trying to do the best he can to avoid getting involved in any further contact. Ramez Azam back down on pit road. We rejoin the live action. Gustas Grimberg's 1.5 seconds clear.
Yeah, really, really big lead, and I say big lead, I mean 1.5 doesn't sound like much, especially in comparison to the enormous lead that we were seeing being built by Valtteri Alander in the earlier stages, but it is big in the grand scheme of things of only 16 laps to go. Either one of these going to be on the button? No, not yet. Josh Chin fancies it. The King of Chins does fancy his go on trying to work by Pierre Verne, or rather defend from Oscar Mangan, who's right on his rear end. Adam Blocker was going for second position, but I think it might be more about Oscar Mangan's attempt to get by Josh Chin, which he does so.
So, interesting now. For Gustas Grimbergus, he's in a comfortable position, I would say. You never want to actually say things like that, to be completely honest, Lewis, especially given how things sometimes go with our commentators' curse. But I tell you what, let's take a look at Gustas Grimbergus right now. He's sending us this webcam feed. Look at his face right now. He is focused on avoiding the walls. He's looking comfortable as well.
Yeah, very, very calm and collected. This is exactly where you want to be with 15 laps to go. You're praying for no caution. You're seeing that gap get bigger. You're feeling comfortable. You're feeling one with the car. No pressure. Just drive laps. And trust me, you're getting close to the barrier. I get it. It's scary. It's you're thinking, whoa, don't get that close. You don't need to take any risk. But when you're in the rhythm, when you're in the flow, when you're calm and relaxed and you don't feel the pressure, again, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's comfortable. It's so much more comfortable than it looks.
Sorry.
And Grimberg is in a real good spot.
Lewis, have you noticed something on the King of Chins car?
I have not. Oh, yes, no front left. Whoa.
The King of Chins is well acquainted with the walls here at Long Beach. I wonder if that's happened recently or if he's been nursing that damage, given the pace that he's had in the restart. Since the restart, I have to assume he's just been pushing the issue slightly too much, looking in his rear view mirrors now, because the Irishman Oscar Mangan, with the championship focus, will be trying to get past and into the top 5.
Yeah, it was on lap 70, I can tell you that. I'm not sure roughly whereabouts. I think it might have been in the run through, at least from what I can see, the run through turn 5. So that is not good. That is not going to help, especially if there's one side of the wing. There you go, There you go, that's it. Oh, very good. You can see it very good from there. That is going to be affecting things massively around here. Of all parts of the wing you want to lose, that is not it.
Oh, side by side for second position. Adam Blocker and Alex Ellis. There's almost contact as they cross the start-finish line. They're both on the button. 13 laps to go. Gustas Grimbergus 2 seconds clear. Ellis defends for now. Blocker almost tries the over-under. This is heating up, and I think Blocker needs to get on past ASAP.
And this, I was about to say, this is exactly what Gustas Grimbergus didn't want. But no, this is perfect. If Blocker got through there, then it was panic stations for the Simsa Esports driver. But he wasn't able to get through the defence from Alex Ellis. He has worked hard all day to work up from the rear of the field to try and battle with the leaders. He has worked hard for this podium. You think he's going to let it go? Absolutely not. Not a single chance of it.
And like we've been mentioning, full props to him. He took the penalty that he got in qualifying, didn't let him affect him. He knew he had the pace. He knew he would be able to work his way through the field. He is getting his just desserts right now. Wonderful to see the driver with Indy Lights experience here on the sim as well. Such a strong competitor representing the VRS Satellite Racing team. Syandra and Adam Crane didn't get too far in today's race. They are watching on from the sidelines and cheering their teammate on.
Yeah, and you would be cheering. You're sat there, you're embroiled in this battle from the sidelines regardless, but you're kind of thinking, oh my god, this is enthralling, it's exciting, it's tantalizingly close. But once again, let's take a look at those gaps. Alex Ellis now 3 seconds behind Gustus Grimbergers, but you've got Blocker, Kerry, Vern, Chin, Oscar Mangan a part of this train. Mangan behind Josh Chin, of course, with that damage, will be desperate to get through. Know that he doesn't have too many push-to-passes to go, but for a driver that is, an outside chance of the championship, will fancy his way through, will fancy trying to get on with things and try and work his way up the order. I
tell you what, Lewis, what technical affiliation would you have with two races left to go and so much on the table?
Absolutely, and that kind of stuff, you want as many heads in the room as possible. Once again, Alex Ellis defending Adam Blocker. He's going to try as he's tried it again and again and again around the outside of turn one. It's tight stuff from Alex Ellis. Ellis might be running in a little bit too deep, but no, not just yet. That is perfectly judged from Ellis, who's going to hang on a second. That
was a bit naughty though as well, because you can get a slowdown penalty if you are pushed off into the pit exit road where it merges back onto the track. If I'm Blocker, you need to find a way to the inside, out of turn 5. Where does he go? Ellis is being ultra defensive. 4 seconds clear is the race leader. They are side by side exiting the corner onto EC Sideway. Watch this run from the 74.
Yeah, if I'm honest, unless the caution's coming out, Grimbergers has gone. He's done. He's set sail. He has absolutely run away into the distance as Ellis has defended as hard as he can, regardless as to whether it's through the damage or just the tyres themselves. That car is slower. This was the part of the track where Grimbergers got that move done on the VRS Satellite man. It is not that case for Adam Blocker, but a couple of snaps of oversteer on the exit of corners has potentially opened the door as Riley Thompson back into the pit lane to service the car. I did see an enormous whack from him a few laps ago, so no real surprise. But Blocker not close enough this time. Is not going to get many more opportunities to try and pass Ellis and try and get himself in the second.
It's only 10 laps to go, and you see Joshua Chin has slipped on past Pierre Verne despite the damage that he's got. So he's hanging on very nicely, and I tell you what, after a podium last time around, it's a good run for the private label Team Hype driver as he now chases down Brian Carey for 4th. This, though, is the moment. This, I think, is the chance for Blocker. He forces Ellis to try and run a slightly tighter line. Can he get the power down? Doesn't look like they're on the button. Don't think this is happening into turn 9.
No, it's close. This is an intense battle. Like I said, it's a hard track to pass at. It's one that you can pass at, but it's being defended brilliantly as Oscar Mangan now gets by Pierre Verne, who's dropped down also past Austin Espety as well for good measure. There's the dive. That's a little bit too much, though. That is a little bit too much from Blocker. Brian Carey's also going to get through. That was a dive into the hairpin. I've seen that a couple of times from Adam Blocker, although that, I'd say, is potentially a touch too far.
Well, he knew that was his only opportunity, basically. Ellis has been ultra defensive and so good at holding on. Side by side, can Ellis force this move? No, he cannot. Blocker is into second. Can he try and chase down Gustas Grimbergers? 5 seconds is the gap.
Yeah, we need to desperately take another look. I'm surprised that Brian Carey wasn't able to get through, but this now becomes the battle for the podium. And I've spoken before about in sim racing and in motorsport, you have these battles. You want to win the race. Okay, if you finish second or third, to be honest, I'll take a second or a third. I'm not really that bothered. It's a podium regardless. I'll take a 4th and a 5th. I'm not really bothered again, 4th or 5th. But when you get to those cut-off points, you're desperate for a podium. You're desperate for a top 5. You're desperate for a top 10. Whatever it is, whatever that step is, that wording, it is important. Let's take a look once again at how Adam Blocker, he's quite far back here. Did make it stick, though. Sorry, Lewis, back to the live coverage. Blocker has been crashed. We are back under yellow. This is big for the race lead as well, because Grimbergers' 3, 4, 5 second lead has disappeared. It is gone. It is done for. And what has happened here for Blocker. Was it between him and Ellis?
It was. They were side by side. I see Josh Chin down onto pit road as well. Well, we have a shootout to the end. Oh! I believe Blocker might have got a slowdown penalty coming down EC side way. He triggers a chain reaction. Let's pull this one slightly further back. We need to see what happened as we were running down onto this back straightaway.
Right, so naturally there's a lot of communication going on between the drivers in the session right now, trying to figure out exactly how to unfold in this snow. Was way too tight there running through turn 8, so he's got to slow down now, and he's obviously going to take it in the braking zone. He's going to try and basically hold on to position. You've got Ellis there going around the outside, but then loses it by himself, and there goes Josh Chin sliding out, taking the front end of Lichtenberg as well. Oh, that is not pretty. I don't like seeing that.
Let's ride on board. It almost looked as though Blocker's car was damaged. No, he's slowing down. That's this telltale slide. Oh, just too fast into the corner.
Fast, way too quick.
Self-inflicted mistake there, and the podium hopes go up in smoke for Adam Blocker.
But the race win potentially back on for Alex Ellis, for Brian Carey maybe, depending on how quick. Oh, look at that from Chin. There's nothing he can do about that. Just basically the concertina maybe could have was a little bit too hot into the action anyway, but that is a rough way to end what has been a testy affair this afternoon. Could you get a little bit of a whack, I will say, from Oscar Mangan?
That's why I went to the aerial look. Let's try and jump on board with the Irishman. Oh, he's very hot into the corner there. If I'm racing
speed.
That's the problem, Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you view this as race control?
The thing is, it's about when, because obviously, so in iRacing, for those of you that don't know, for whatever reason,
Ellis down on pit road.
Alex Ellis. Oh, that is interesting. Was that Lichtenberg as well? No, it wasn't. Into the pit.
That was Austin Espety.
Espety, yeah, absolutely. Diving in, curious for Alex Ellis. Maybe just wanting to get that damage, getting tyres, getting fuel, whatever. Maybe doesn't think he can make it to the end of the race. But either way, what I was going to say about Oscar Mangan is in iRacing, unlike in other sims where you can drive from other views, be it from the bonnet, from the roof, from TV cam, whatever. Obviously you can turn that off in quite a lot of racing series and stuff. In iRacing, you are locked to the cockpit. You can't move from the cockpit, which means that your vision's obscured by whatever else, and that can be, in this case, being the aero screen and the T in the middle, whatever. There's quite a few things that can block your view, and I think with race control, they need to take a look at it from Oscar Mangan's point of view, because the crash happened so fast, there wouldn't have been a yellow flag called before he hit the corner, or at least before he hit the braking zone. That's the really important thing there. And whilst you've got the carnage happening, once you've committed to that braking point, it's quite hard to judge it past that point. If he couldn't see smoke and couldn't see the instant happening ahead, then in a sense there's no reason for him to slow down more than what would be standard racing. And so in that sense, I think, I haven't seen it from Mangan's point of view, but might get away with any sort of anything else.
I have to make the joke because I did tell Adam that I was going to do it. Blocker calls the track blocker. Sorry, I had to do that one. Not very punny, I know.
Top tier.
Top tier memeing here in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. The leave lights are off on the pace car, so it is going to be a 6-lap and 12-mile shootout. And I tell you what, Oscar Mangan is not out of the picture. He's only got 2 push-to-passes. Brian Carey with 6 will be defending for all his might.
Or is he going to be attacking? Attacking with all his might.
Well,
that's the other way to look at it.
Attack is the best form of defense here, Lewis.
Absolutely. I'd Gus Scrimberger, he's got to play it out the right way. He's got to play it out. I think once he comes through the hairpin, he's gone. I think he is going to absolutely take off and try and split the field. But then Carey and Mangan, they're probably going to be ready for it.
Here we go. It's likely if we got another caution, we would finish behind the safety car. It has been an attrition-filled race. 28 cars down to 18 still circulating. There are valuable championship points on offer. Gustav Grimbergers picks up the throttle. We are racing from Long Beach once more.
Yeah, also shout out, by the way, Pierre Verne up to fourth position after being backwards out of the hairpin, by the way. That's fantastic stuff. Is Brian Carey doing it now?
Grimbergus uses his last use of the push to pass. He's going to have nothing else to defend with other than the 700 horsepower that Dallara IR18 provides. Oscar Mangan, not the best launch. He is right on the back, like Lewis points out. Pierre Verne, a wonderful drive here today. You might be sniffing at a podium if we have more carnage to finish things off here.
Yeah, this could be potentially fantastic stuff as well from Pedro Sanchez-Albert, Andre Ike as well, who's really not far away from it. A little bit too slow coming through turn 6 from Oscar Mangan as they run through now down onto East Seaside Way on that run down into the famous turn 9 and into the car park, which leads up to the hairpin. Carey is right there, and like you say, with push pass to spare.
Here we go, 5 to go. And I tell you what, if there's not tension in the air already, well, let me start building it up for you. Carey on the button. 4 usages for him. You can see Albert and Ike aggressive as well. Esppetit gets passed by Henry Bennett, who was mixed up in a lap 1 incident. The tower is lit up like a Christmas tree. Carey pops himself to the outside line, unable to make things work. It is still Grimbergus in the race lead.
Yeah, look at everyone who's saved
Lewis,
up.
there is a chaos in the final corner. Blocker, Ellis, Domingo, and Thompson mixed up here.
Yeah, so clearly some kinds, but it looks like everyone's able to keep going and work their way through without any major drama. Espeti's dropping a couple of positions to Sepper and Bennett as well. So clearly some other stuff is going on. Grimbergus holding on for now. 5 laps to go. This is going to be absolutely intense. Got to be careful through that corner because they are cutting it close to the wall and cutting it pretty fine for a slowdown.
Reminder that live timing is available at RaceSpot.tv/Indy. There is so much going on here. We are going to focus on this battle for the race victory. Mangan is all over the tail end of the Canadian Brian Carey. In the championship picture, Valtteri Alander has recovered to 13th position, but if Mangan can work his way to the lead of this race, that championship advantage will be down to just 17 points heading into the final 2 rounds of the season.
So I'm not 100% sure what this is about, but there is an incident under investigation between cars 99 and car 111, your race leader, and it is about a start issue. So clearly something on that restart that someone has seen has not been enjoyed, and race control will be taking a look at it.
I can tell you what it is, the power of being part of the race control team, as Joshua Chin is down on pit lane to heartbreak for the king of chins. It is all kicking off. It'll be 3 to go at the line. The protest is because Grimbergus backed the pack up here, Lewis.
Yeah.
20 miles an hour was the report here. It'll be interesting what race control determines here. They have to do it quickly because it's going to influence the outcome of this race.
It was exceptionally slow through this. I did make a bit of a around here because it was very, very slow on that run, allowing the pace car to clear off and such. But either way, you've got to be careful with when you're doing it. Oscar Mangan is on the button, going to try and get by potentially Brian Carey here, who's not on the button. This is the run into turn 2. This could be really big for the Irishman. Dives it to the inside and gets that one clear up into second position with a push to pass to spare. 3 to go.
Interesting call by Carey to not defend that one. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but maybe some miscommunication. He's still got 4 usages. It might also be he's tight on fuel. 3 laps to go. It is a 2-way shootout, if you ask me. Grimbergus versus Mangan. You saw, by the way, Sanchez-Albert all over the tail end of the Frenchman. 4th position is fighting hard.
Yeah, this is really fantastic. Edgy, you see action once again in the ISOWC with a couple of rounds to go. I can't wait to see how the season is going to unfold. Valtteri Alander dropping down a position here. He's obviously deep within the points. He's going to be able to score it. Got to push the pass and get himself up into 12th position. But a day to forget from the Finn, the championship leader. Could be an enormous day to remember for this man, though, if he can take a victory. 2 to go.
Here we go. 4 miles and 22 corners for Gustas Grimbergus to survive. He has not got the 70 extra horsepower that he can have pushing himself down these straightaways to defend from the Irishman. How aggressive does Mangan choose to be here, Lewis?
When does he run it? This is the important thing. He's got to pick it at the right time. You can't just go, oh, I'll use it on the start-finish straight. I've got one more. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. No, you have to use it cautiously, carefully, when it is right. Mangan has to play this card as good as he can, because it is tight stuff, and this is important stuff. This is about not only a victory but his championship chances as well. Grimberger's decent off of turn 8 once again. They are only going to get one more opportunity into every single one of these corners, and trust me, there is going to be an attempt from Mangan. It's just where it is.
Race Control already on the issue, saying that they'll investigate the start issue.
Oh, there's contact!
There's contact. Grimbergus holds on, but the rear end of his car is gone. Mangan to the race lead, and it's heartbreak for Gustas Grimbergus. Take a look at his face here. You can see the disappointment for the 111. Simsa Esports will be frustrated right now.
Yeah, he is going to be furious with that. I'm not sure, if it was the certain word or what, but it was tight between them. It was a very, very small tap. I'm not 100% sure exactly what it was. You can see the front end of Oscar Mangan's car is basically clean as a whistle, so they'll have to take a look. But I would not want to be. I'd not want to be race control for that.
Well, 85 laps. Social media was calling this a Royal Rumble, and I tell you what, 28 cars have been whittled down to just 10 that will finish on the leading lap. It's not over for 4th position, by the way. 3rd position now. It's the fight for the podium. Pierre Verne defends from Pedro Sanchez Albert. The Frenchman holds on for now, but coming through the final corner, the Irishman Oscar Mangan. He's debuted in the IR18. It was a difficult start at Watkins Glen. He has gotten his championship hopes back on track. He wins and is crowned the king of the streets of Long Beach.
What a race. Once again, the ISOWC delivers. Valtteri Alander will gain a position on Grimbergus as well. What a drive from Oscar Mangan. Brian Carey as well up there. Pierre Verne, after being backwards out of the hairpin, onto the podium. You can't write it. It truly is brilliant stuff.
And even though it was a very eventful race, as always, the ISOWC somehow manages to deliver some absolutely incredible action. 85 laps, and I tell you what, Lewis, the number of cautions we have doesn't really show just how much side-by-side fighting there was as well.
No, you'd suggest from that caution, I'm not actually sure exactly how many it was, but it was certainly pushing closer to double digits. Not quite, but I think it's sort of in the region of about 7 or 8. You'd assume it was just a carnage fest, but normally what we saw was a 1 or 2 car incident that maybe needed the caution to come out to rescue. But what we saw for the most part was frantic, thrilling action, some brilliant moves, respect between the competitors, and ultimately a championship fight reignited.
Valtteri Alander does recover to 11, so the gap between Mangan and Alander heading to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, I believe, and don't quote me on this because my mental math is very tough right now, is going to be 19 points. The crucial thing is that Race Control is going to be very, very busy here. Lots of things to take a look at. The one thing that we know, Lewis, is that for these final 2 rounds of the championship, Elkhart Lake as well as the Brickyard, that is going to be fascinating. The championship is well and truly on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And Road America is one of those circuits which, yes, it's not, in a sense, it's not as much risk as a circuit like this where you've got the walls to greet you in an instant. But there are corners around Road America that can really, really challenge you in a sense that one tiny mistake and you're going to be off into the barrier. Think of that run down into turn 3 and you get it a little bit wrong on the exit onto the grass. You're going to be way off. It's a challenging affair. It's grass on the outside everywhere, not this tarmac runoff rubbish. It's real manly stuff and really attacking it with its fullest effect. Going to be very interesting to see how the season ends. Plenty of more to come.
So, as always, I feel like we have to do this every time when we get to the end of these races, at least the last couple of weeks. These are your unofficial race results. Who knows what Race Control will have to say, not just about the contact between Grimbergus and Mangan, but a number of other incidents as well. It is the Irishman that takes the checkered flag. He sets up 2 rounds to decide our 2021 championship. Brian Carey, what a drive through the field, not just for him, but for Pierre Vergne, 16 and 19 places respectively. The Powerslide Motorsports team and Race Clutch will be thrilled with podium finishes for them, the two drivers. Pedro Sanchez Albert, as always, impressive on the road courses. He gets a top 5 finish with last week's race winner. He wasn't feeling comfortable coming to the road courses. Andreas Light gets a top 5. Austin Espetit, very strong today. He settles for 6th with Severi Seppa in 7th. Henry Bennett, after being mixed up in a lap 1 incident, recovers to 8th with Brendan Lichtenberg and Alex Ellis rounding out the top 10. Might have been more for Ellis. He'll be very disappointed with multiple contacts with Adam Blocker. Valtteri Alander, Peter Zuber, Adam Blocker, they finish 1 lap down with Manuel Domingo, Riley Thompson, 2 and 3 laps respectively. Then we start to get to some of the carnage. Joshua Chin, Ramez Azam, Alexander Walton, Yao Vaz and Carly Jansen rounding out the top 20. With Syandra Balajlak, Reminit, Christian Steele, Graham Sanders, Chris Aoun, Adam Crane and Matt Pavelski 26th and 27th. Gustas Grimberg is qualified at the tail end of this field. I'm not sure if that's a timing issue. We'll have to talk to race control once we get past these race results. It's all blown wide open. And I tell you what, while we wait for some of our podium interviews, let's bring in straight away the Canadian Brian Carey. Brian, you'll be thrilled with that podium. Talk to us about the race. It was so chaotic, so many different strategy swings. You managed to get that second result.
Arjuna, I have no idea what happened there. I mean, I knew that qualifying, if I got top 15 in qualifying, that'd be a huge result. Got close to that, and I'm like, okay, I have to pick a good strategy. I have to be flexible, and oh my goodness, there's so many things happening. I don't even know what happened at the end there. Like, it looked like Oscar and Gustav maybe got together. I don't know. Got wing damage on the last thing, and I'm buzzing right now, dude. I am so buzzing.
Well, Brian, after your first race of the season where you charged from the back, days of thunder style through the lap 1 cautions, you managed to do it once more. How important, especially here on the streets of Long Beach, was it to keep your nose clean and keep out of all the carnage?
Well, yeah, like I said about the qualifying, I wasn't expecting to get more than top 15, so the only way I was going to get a result was being smart, and like Long Beach will bite you hard. Like these street circuits on iRacing, in real life they got to be impossible, but like in iRacing I feel like they're even harder, and just keeping it clean was the biggest thing. So I had a good safe setup. It felt great, it was fast, but it was just 85 laps of pure torture and just not making a mistake. And like, I mean, I'm not sure how. I really just had to keep my head down and get laps when it counted, save fuel when I needed, and yeah, I mean, here we are. I cannot believe it.
Well, you kind of led me very nicely to my next question, Brian, was this was the race distance that they run in the real world, and it's so exciting that in 2021 we'll return to Long Beach with fans in attendance. It's going to be great having 200,000 people celebrating American open wheel racing right now. How exhausted are you from driving this in the sim? Because imagine, you don't even have to deal with all the bumps and the mental fatigue of all the time being up to the wall.
Well, actually, what's funny is like I got had my second COVID shot just like this morning, a few hours ago. So my arm is killing me. I knew if I was driving, I wouldn't notice the other effects there too. So that's why I wanted to get it early. But I was sore from that. I'm actually not as tired because the concentration. It kind of, I mean, it's keeping me up right now, and I'm going to be up like pretty heightened for a while, I think. It's just. Yeah, like honestly, it's not so much the fatigue physically, it's the mental fatigue of just making sure you hit all your marks. At one point in the middle of the race, I found myself like near the front, and I wasn't expecting it. I just had to tell myself, it's like, dude, hit your marks, brake when you need to. If someone makes a dive on you, like, it wasn't going to gain me anything to fight anything at that point, so I just had to mentally be tough and make sure that I kept things clean. And yeah, like I say, I mean, just awesome.
Congratulations, Brian. I can hear the adrenaline pumping through your veins right now. I'm sure that helped you with that effects of the second COVID shot. Great that you're going to start to be able to get back to some sort of normalcy. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Arjuna.
Oh, you could hear just how pumped Carey was there. And Lewis, I mean, I don't think we're going to get any other interviews here. Oscar Mangan, I can assume, is a little bit disappointed by the manner of the victory. I can confirm. Race Control has said no further action for what happened down at the hairpin. Oscar Mangan wins here in Long Beach.
Yeah, I think it's so. I did mention the word that we don't really want to say when it comes to it, because we don't want it to be a deciding factor, especially in this kind of stuff. But it did look like there might have been a little, obviously, connection, different side of the world, etc. They're from not exactly next door to each other. It's one of those things that can happen. Nature of online racing, but either way, the race between them was fantastic. It was just a shame. It was the lightest tap, if none at all. I think it would have been exceptionally harsh to penalise Oscar Mangan, at least from what I saw. I'm sure they'll take a look at it. But either way, one thing that it does do is it really spices up our championship. Mangan is actually on TeamSpeak, by the way.
Oh, and I tell you what, let's bring him in, because I was not expecting the opportunity to chat with him. And let's see if we can dial up the Irishman, Oscar Mangan. We got a copy on you, Oscar.
Yep, all clear.
Delighted. Talk to us. Let's start with the elephant in the room. The final, race-defining moment, contact with Grimbergers. Race Control has already said, the win is yours. You are victorious here on the streets of Long Beach. What are you feeling right now? Because I'm sure it's a mix of happiness as well as disappointment as to the manner of victory.
Yeah, I think obviously I don't want to win it that way through I wouldn't blame Gustus, and I don't really feel that I could have avoided anything really. There was just kind of, I guess, ghost contact between the two. But I never wanted to take a win like that, so I was kind of saving push to pass for that straight before the contact happened. So I feel I could have probably gotten him in the race after that. So shout out to Gustas. I'm gutted for him. I wouldn't want to take a win away like that. So, but all the same, really, really happy. I feel that we had pace in the car thanks to the Core Sim Racing and Team Talent guys and Valtteri for working a lot. We the car was really, really electric at the last kind of stint. With the caution went against us, the last caution, but really, really happy all the same.
I was going to say, did you really think, based on how the cautions played out, especially at the end of the race, that you'd be in a position to fight for the race lead? It was a great incident coming down into the penultimate couple of corners. Really did reset the race and put you in a position to put the pressure on the guys out front. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we were kind of hoping that it would go green after we'd stopped. We were pretty comfortable on fuel, so we were kind of banking on just pulling away and hoping Valtteri would get kind of caught up in traffic and we'd be able to pull a gap and kind of go from there. But it didn't go that way. But then kind of at the end, had just to reset, kind of change all the dials in the car, just kind of get some fuel saved and just cool the tires down. And then I kind of knew with coming to the green flag at the end there, I was like, right, it's either I need to kind of pick a car, overtake kind of 1 or 2, 3 cars at a time here to get the win. So I'm really I'm moist with sweat. I was absolutely sweating and nearly, I'm sure the Team Talent guys say I was probably cursing under my breath just trying to not mess up a corner and stuff. But yeah, it was tough. But yeah, really, really happy.
What's the dynamic like for you now, Oscar? 2 races left to go. You are very much back in the championship picture, doing the mental math, which is likely to be wrong, but you are within 20 points of Alander, and of course you two are working together. And I've talked to the Team Talent guys. It's not been just a one-way street of you guys learning from them about the IndyCar. There's lots of knowledge that's going both ways. How much are you going to be able to work together knowing what's on the line?
Yeah, I think, Valtteri is very chill. He's a really easy guy to work with. He was working with Carl and myself for Sebring, and they had a good scrap. So I wouldn't expect that dynamic to change. We've been learning a lot from Team Talent about how to set the car up, particularly on the ovals and in terms of kind of extending tire life and things. And then Valtteri and we can bring some of our kind of road open wheel kind of knowledge from different previous championships. So I think Valtteri's very fast. So I think we would kind of need to really knuckle down and try and push, maybe to see if we can catch him. I think he's a little bit out of reach unless, I don't know, if we can find a lot of pace for Road America and kind of get on an equal footing. I think it could be exciting. And then we have the 500 after that, so I think that could kind of throw everything up in the air, because I have some experience now with oval racing and the IndyCar, but Valtteri clearly showed his worth at Auto Club. So I think I'd rather have a good fight there and try and get closer to Road America, but really just have it all on the line for Indy.
Well, the one thing that I learned very early when I made the transition to IndyCar is Indy is one of the few ovals that drives very much like a road course. I have a feeling you'll be probably looking a bit stronger than your confidence suggests right now. Good luck in these final 2 rounds of the championship, Oscar. You're making it very interesting with the Flying Finn.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
So that was Oscar Mangan, a victor on the streets of Long Beach. And well, Lewis McLeod, it is time to start wrapping things up. Let's take a look at that schedule before we say goodbye. Road America on July 17th. There will be an off week in terms of broadcasted action. We will be qualifying, though, for the ISOWC 500 in that off week. And then the end of July, we wrap things up for our own version of the greatest spectacle in racing.
Yeah, and it really is. Obviously, you know, we've spoken a couple of times about racing at the Brickyard for 200 laps is always a fantastic feat. It is something which challenges drivers and teams to the highest extent. And what a perfect way to end the season with a challenge like that is a complete unknown and a mystery, much in the same vein that what we've had today here at Long Beach. It can throw up a wild card and really spice things up in the championship in that final race. I mean, we don't need much more spice, but Valtteri Alander's still going to take some beating. Let's not forget about his pace. Here today, he was the fastest driver, was the man to beat, and certainly was beaten here today.
3/10 clear in qualifying, dominated so much of the day, but with such a chaotic race, it was ultimately pit strategy that caught him out. And I do wonder, Lewis, as we head to Road America, less cautions expected for Valtteri Alander, for his spotter Iku Merikala. What will they be thinking differently about strategy next time around?
Less risk. They don't need to take any risk. They just need to score some decent points consistently. Just need to be focused on what's happening around them and just reduce that. I think that's where we saw it a little bit too much risk in the early stages strategy-wise, and maybe just took a gamble that didn't really work out, and then obviously coming back through the field causing a little bit of an issue. So they just need to clean things up on that front, get back to the form they had at Sebring, and let's be honest, we know with Valtteri Alander that he is aiming for one thing and one thing alone at Road America, and that is taking the victory. Best way to do that, taking pole position and running away with it, looking in the dominant form that we saw at Sebring. They'll be trying to repeat that form.
Well, we had the cameras turned on basically the entire day. We didn't get a look at them. Before we say goodbye, I'm just really excited, Lewis. It's been a really fun season. Next week, not IndyCar action. Let's talk a little bit about GT3 competition. $25,000 on the line. The VRS SCO Sprint Masters. 30 of the best sim racing teams combined with real-world experience. Joshua Rogers will be in action.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but look forward to some of the more thrilling action that we've got here on RaceSpot, and that adding to it, I mean, I can't wait. I've had a chat with a couple of drivers. We've had a bit of fun behind the scenes, of course, on the build-up to it, trying to get some car noises out of everyone, but alas, we've had some great fun on the build-up, but the fun stops once the racing begins, at least from the driver's point of view. They're going to be meaning some proper business on that chase for the prize money.
And we'll be racing for round 1 from Hockenheim. What a day it will be. $25,000 on the line. Great to have GT3 competition back in a major way on the iRacing.com service. That wraps up our round 4 coverage here from the streets of Long Beach. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Delighted as always to have been joined by RaceSpot's own Lewis McLeod. TV cameras designed by our friend Tyler Maxon, who's in competition today with the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, racing in a Hyundai Veloster TCR. Great to have that crossover, even here within our own team at RaceSpotTV. Live timing powered by our friends at ATVO. Shout out to Kevin Niatola, Simon Grossman, and Nick Thyssen for all the hard work they do, not just on our 2021 graphics package, but providing the graphics tools and broadcasting tools that so many here on the iRacing service rely on to deliver these high quality broadcasts. From the streets of Long Beach, we say goodbye. It will be a couple of weeks off, but for now, it's Oscar Mangan in victory lane. It's a dramatic race here on the streets of Long Beach. The Royal Rumble has come to a close. 2 rounds to go on the road to $7,000. We'll see you next time on RaceSpot TV. Green flag racing in round 3 of the ISOWC. And we're going to options, surely. Everyone is down this time around, Lewis. We are back on the same strategy. 5 cars with a chance of victory.
Here we go, Valtteri Landon's going to look to the inside. We're going to go 3 wide.
Chins up into the wall, or it's a drag race to the line, or is it